Today we're going to be focusing on KW designs, and we're going to talk a little bit about Twilio. Designs takes up most of our time. Twilio is a very small component, so I'll probably hit that towards the end. I'll probably spend the first complete hour specifically on designs. Question, just curious, from the other classes we've had, have any of you been going home and actually like using features yet that we went over? Yeah? You're losing opportunities? What about you?
Yeah, I was able to go in and my leads from my open house, because I already had my contact list from my phone imported.
Yeah.
But my leads from my open house is getting them an open house opportunity.
Very good, very good. Did the system break?
And then I was able to load my listing and contract in.
And put it in there? Yeah. Did it break for either of you two though? Did the computer break when you went to go try things out?
No.
Okay.
It didn't break.
Good. All right. So the only one that's broken anything is Larry. Larry, I'm going to pick on you. You broke command for a few seconds. Here's the point, guys. Get in there, use it. It's not going to break. You're not going to mess anything up. Okay. So today, again, let's get right into it. We're going to start with design. So let me just do a screen share for those at home and those watching the recording. The Sports Center. Is that from Sports Center? What I just did? I think that's Sports Center. Yeah, I'm like, where did that just come from? All right. So as always, we're in the dashboard when we log in. So we're going to jump right down. And I don't know why I did what I did. I skipped the campaigns and I went straight to designs. I'm doing campaigns when I get back. So I don't know why I did that. I kind of went OCD this morning when I saw that. I'm like, why did I skip that? So we're going to jump into designs. Who knows what designs is there for? To market, make marketing content, right? So and I'll show you all the different types of marketing that you can do. So think back, remember I mentioned that earlier on when we started this, that command was designed in a way that agents don't have to go to a bunch of different platforms and they can just run their business all in one place. So designs was a part of that. So a lot of agents, and some do still, and I no judgment because I still do in some cases, and I'll explain why I do in some cases, use another platform. But everything for the most part still gets designed and emailed inside of command, all the marketing pieces. Some people like to use Canva. Who uses Canva here? You use Canva a little bit. So Canva does a little bit, well, if not some of the same stuff, but if not more stuff, it just depends on what you're looking for. So some people are still using Canva, but yet the idea behind designs is that you can come in here and pull from thousands of templates that are already provided to you from the company. So let's look at how to use this. So right now, when I click into designs, clearly what you're seeing right now is the designs from the entire time I've been using command. So there's 377 different designs in there that I've created. These are my personal designs. So when you log into yours, it may not show any designs just yet if you haven't started creating anything. So yours might look blank. If it does, no biggie, because right now what we're going to work on is starting to create some different type of design. So I'm going to go through a few of them. So on the top right, you'll see the design button. So we're going to hit create design, and it's going to give you 4 options. So my goal in this hour is to kind of go through all the 4 options and kind of show you what's possible within each single one of those. So we're just going to work ourselves from left to right. So we're going to first start off by looking at some different email designs. Notice that little blue line. That's how you know which one you've clicked on. You guys see it? Cool. All right, hit next. And then it's going to pull your template library. So in here, there's 73 different templates for various different things. I mean, if you literally start loading these, you can see the name of what the template is. But for example, like who's got an open house coming up? Okay, so let's say we wanted to create an email design for an open house that's coming up. I'm just going to search at the top and I'm typing open house. Okay, here we go. There's 11 overall templates for open houses that I can take a look at. Ooh, I like this luxury looking one, so I'm going to go with that one. So I'm going to click on whatever design I like. Click it. Same little blue. Is that blue or teal? What is that?
Let's go with blue.
Let's go with blue. It's blue. It's the blue box. Click on it. Hit next. Okay, a couple things we're seeing here. First, we're seeing the name at the top. It's just going to default the name that the template's called. If I want to edit this, I might say open house 123 Main Street, because maybe I do a lot of these and I want to know how to find it easily. So I probably would name it Open House 123 Main Street. If it was a for sale email, like a just listed email, maybe I might call it just listed 123 Main Street. Okay, so name it appropriately. Then you'll see, and what I like to do is I like to preview what this template even looks like to begin with. So here you got computer view, tablet view, phone view. So you can literally toggle between the different devices so you can see how that ad's going to look or how that email is going to be received. We're in the edit mode right here. This is the template with the tab that we're in right now where we can modify and edit. So we're going to play with that here in a second. And then we have our preview mode, this little eyeball here. So I like to start by actually looking at the preview mode to see what the template in general looks like. So the template looks like it's going to say, good morning, Jordas, or whatever the contact's first name is. When you see this right here, by the way, guys, don't freak out. Some people freak out and like, oh my God, it says contact first name. No, what it's saying, it's a formula that's going to pull that contact's first name who's receiving the email. You guys get it? So it'll say, hey, Rosa, hey, Jeff, hey, Jordas, or good morning in this case. It'll pull it automatically. So in preview mode, it doesn't do that because right now it's a preview mode. We haven't selected people, so it doesn't have a name to pull from. And this is the pre-generated message. And of course, you'll see in a second how we can edit it, but it just says, I wanted to personally invite you to the open house I'm hosting at yada, yada. It's tucked away in the historic yada, yada, and you get it. So it's just a little invite, has a picture of the property, says open house, another picture, some specs about the property, a little description, and then it pulls your information down at the bottom. Click to a link to click your app. That's it. And then it says luxury, your logo. That's what it's going to look like. So far, I like this design. All I'm going to do now is make some changes to it, obviously, because it's not customized yet. So I'm going to hit those little X here to get back to the edit screen, which is the screen we're in here. So how do we make changes? So first off, do we need to make a change to this first line? Yes or no?
Well, if it's afternoon.
There you go. So I don't want to say good morning. So I'm going to click that box. I'm going to hit the little pen. I'm going to hit the little pen. And I'm going to go here and make my change. Today, I'm going to say, what's up? Probably don't do that. You probably don't want to do that in an email. Don't do that. I'm just playing with you guys right now. I'm going to say, what's up? Make sure and hear me. I'm going to maybe repeat this twice so you guys hear me. Your natural instincts to go up top and hit save. Don't do it. Not yet. This is not where we save what we just did. Where do you guys think we hit click to save what we just did?
At the end.
Done. 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 All right, you got me. Done. There it is. They made the change. Hitting save up here, it's when you're ready to save this template and come back to it later, or you're done with it and now we're ready to go email it, which is in a different tab. Oh, now I remember why I did designs first versus campaigns, because campaigns is about how to email this out. And I wanted to show you how to design it first. Right? That's why I figured it out. All right. All right. Let's keep editing. If I want to edit this box, what do I do?
The pen.
Clicked on it and then I hit the pen. Now, maybe, just maybe, I want it to be a bigger font. So maybe I want to highlight all of this and maybe I want to see if I can get a bigger font. Ooh, that looks bigger. And maybe I'm weird and I want to put a different color to it. You guys are probably familiar with these features. They're very similar to what you see on Word and most editing programs. Maybe I want to change it to red. I'm going to do funky stuff, guys, just to show you that you can make all these edits. And maybe, oh my God, what is this button right here? What does that do? Maybe I want to add a link right underneath there. I could do that if I wanted to. Let's hit save or done.
Your URL for your listing, right?
Yeah, but you'll see somewhere else where you can put it too. So, but yeah, you could do it. Let's hit done. See what happens. Oh, look at that. Font got a little bit bigger. Font got red. You know what? I don't like this right here. And by the way, guys, I'm going to go slower on this first one. Just know that every other design after this, when it comes to email designs and pretty much every other type, flyers and what's the other one? Social media stuff. It's all the same sort of making changes. But I still will go through. I'm just going to keep it slow on this one so you guys get it. I don't like this line. I don't want it. It doesn't resonate with what I want to do. So I'm going to do what? Look at that. Look at that. But now I've changed my mind. I'm indecisive. And now I want to add text back there again. I can either do this, undo that. But if I didn't see that button, I can use these little widgets over here to the right-hand side. Notice that little blue awesome color? That's the one I'm hovering over. So I'm going to hover over text. And I'm going to hold my mouse down. And I'm going to bring it right above. That little green line shows me where it's going to go. I'm going to bring it right above that. Look at that. And then I'm going to get very creative here and write an amazing essay. Get the right color, get the right size, all of that. And I'm going to hit done, and it's going to show up right there. And I'm curious right now how this template's looking. So I'm going to hit this little eyeball here because I'm just want to make sure as I'm going along that it looks right. It looks horrible, but you guys get it. Right? Moving on. Picture. We gotta, this is not the house. I mean, this is a nice looking house. That probably looks like maybe California, maybe Miami even, I don't know, Arizona, okay. I'm probably off on California. But either way, that's not my house. So what am I gonna do? Well, do I want the picture there? Okay. I'm gonna hit the pencil. I hit the pencil. The template's there. There's no reason for me, very clearly, there's no reason for me to hit image over here. This is if I wanted to add an image. So maybe under this description, I wanted to put my face because I want them to see my face. I can click image and put it right underneath that text, and then I can upload an image. I could do that. We'll do that here in a second. I don't want to do it just yet. So I'm gonna hit cancel, and I don't want that box there. So I'm gonna hit delete on that because I don't want to mess things up. But I do want to change this picture. That doesn't fit. That's not my listing. It's not the picture of the house. So I'm going to hit edit. And I get this cool little widget over here to start making some changes. Now here, obviously, what am I click on? What am I going to click on? Replace. And there's either going to be my images, which are images that you've already loaded into your command. It's a new listing. I probably haven't uploaded it here. I could go to listing images and populate a listing. So who's got an address that's for sale? And those that you know the top of mind here. Who's got an address here? 561 22nd Street. Is that Golden Gate one? That one? 561 22nd Street. Look at that. So here's the listing. Not even my listing, but that's the one I'm going to be hosting an open house on. So if you're hosting an open house for another agent, just go populate one of their pictures from their listing. So I'm going to view that listing, and I'm going to go through and find the picture that I want to use for this first shot. So let's go with the front of the house, and we're going to hit replace. There it is. Now, again, we're not going to hit save. We're going to hit done. But I also want to show you this feature because it used to not be there, and now it is, and I love it. Any picture that you upload into a design, at least in this email format, can be clickable to take it to an external website. Do you need to in this particular design? Probably not. However, here's where maybe I would use it. Because right here, notice it says the picture can link to something. It doesn't have to link to something, but it could. So maybe I want to link it to a web address. Where would I link it to? What would make sense if I wanted that picture to go somewhere?
To your web page where you have it listed.
No, well, no. PW command. What is that going to do? Command is for you. Your website is where you want it to go. Yeah, you want it to go to your website. So you're going to go to your website, and we're going to find that listing. Give me that address again. 561 Street. It wasn't Northeast, was it? Yeah, 561. Is it 22nd Street? Is it Northeast or something? Was it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Which one?
No, that's not
That's a lot.
That's
That one?
Yeah.
There it is. I'm going to take the link from the browser, copy it, and I'm just going to enter it right there. Bada bing, bada boom. Hit done. And there we go. If they click on the picture, which doesn't say click me, but if they did, it's going to take them to that property. Probably don't want to change anything there. Am I good with this? Probably.
I would make the words bigger.
Maybe, but it might mess up the template too. Let's see how it looks in preview mode. You could make it bigger if you want. You can even probably put open house invite up here. That could be your leading text. Let's look at the next one, pictures. This one, again, I'm not gonna go all the way through, but edit and then replace your picture. Those can be linked as well. You can create a link to send it somewhere. Text, just like before, edit your text. Text, again, edit it. You want to maybe add another picture. Maybe you're not happy with just those 3 pictures and you want to add another one. Could I just grab this widget right here for image and put it right? Let's see where I want it. Probably want it right. Oh, nope, I didn't want it there. I want it right here. You get to have a mouse that works better than mine. Oh my God. No, there we go. I wanted it centered. And maybe I want to edit this and I'm going to just replace it with just a random image from here. So you can see, get the idea. There's the image, hit done. There it is. Too small. I want to enlarge this, grab the little boxes on the edge, play with the size of the image. And then I'm going to continue building on this template. If you notice on the right-hand side, we can either add text, images, we can add a button. So maybe we don't want the pictures to be linkable or clickable. Maybe I want to add a button right underneath that right there. Obviously, I don't want it to say button. I want it to say something else. I'm going to have to edit that. And I'm going to have to say, I don't know, click here or whatever, call to action. Whatever your call to action is, click here, and then where do you want that to go to? You want to go to a website, and then you're going to enter in your website, obviously, wherever you want it to go. I want it to look, I'm probably going to leave it black because it flows better, but if I wanted to change the color on it, I could change the color on that button, and I want it to be a round button. Oh, wait, change because of the radius. I think I have to round. Play with that too much. I just leave it square. There you go. It's a little bit curved now on the edges. So you can do that. Maybe, and actually I'm gonna wait on a different template to show you some of these other ones, but because I feel like listing block. Actually, no, we'll stay right here to not confuse it because I want to just see what they're all able to do. Listing block, I'll show you what that can do. Now, obviously, it wouldn't make sense for this template for me to add this. I'm just going to stay in this template. Follow along with me. I'm going to stay in this template so you know what the widgets do, but I wouldn't probably change too much on this design because I picked it because I liked it. Maybe I wanted to get rid of this button. Let's see what listing block can do for me.
But also this one's for,
This is for command email marketing.
email. Okay, not just email.
I don't know. Where are you using snail mail?
I don't know, it's just like, like misunderstanding. You said there was 4 options. I thought the first one was is it email?
Email is what I said. Yeah, email design.
Oh,
Are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you sure? Okay, good job. Keep an eye on it. You're good. All right. I just added a listing block. In the listing block, this would be good if I wanted to promote multiple listings. So here's what I can do in a listing block. I can edit that. I can find a picture of a property. I'm just going to click a random one for right now so we can just move quicker. Select my picture of this beautiful home. I don't know where it is. And then I'm going to finish filling it all out. So it did populate the address information based on the description of the listing. And then I'm probably going to find that listing on my website. I'm going to find that listing on my website. Oh, guys. I'm going to put the web address to the listing there. I'm going to hit done. And there you go. That populated all the information over. This will be clickable when the customer receives it. It's going to take, because I put the link to my website there. It's going to take them to my website to look at that property. Could I continue building on that? Yeah. Maybe I want to add another one there. You could do that as well. So that's an option there. Event block, that would be, let me show you. Just like you see it here. Maybe you have an event you want to promote in the area. So what that would look like, okay, a picture of the event, date and time, event title, description, and then a link that takes you to the details of that event. So that's just pre-generated for you for like a quicker plug and play design for you. Maybe I want to add a video. So maybe instead of all this, maybe instead of this, what did I just do? Hold on. What did I just do? It's, yeah, hold on, it's lagging. Now it's lagging. It is definitely lagging. I broke it. All right. I broke it. I'm gonna go back to designs and keep going with the lesson. I don't know what the heck just happened there. Let me just click. So let's find a different template to mess with, just for the purpose of right now.
Would that be an email to send to your whole
Database. Yep.
Can you take people out of it? Because like, what if they don't live in Florida? Why would you send them?
Well, here's the thing. You're right. That's why tags are important. Remember when we started this conversation at the beginning of last week of the importance of tags? Tags are important because your messaging might be different based on the tag. So that's where you have to figure out how do you want to organize your database. So me personally, I never invited people to open houses in this way because I wasn't going to tag my database in such a way. So for me, it didn't make sense to send open house invites.
Right.
Yeah. So let me just click another template. Guys, I have no idea what just happened here. I think I froze in, then I got out of it without saving it. So that's why. So there's a lesson. Save it along the way. I never hit save, so I just lost everything just because the computer got quirky. So save your templates along the way. Don't do what I just did, because now I have to shamelessly click a new template and continue showing you design templates. So here's another design layout for you as well. Let's just continue where we were. So I was going to show you videos. So maybe maybe I'm okay. I do want the image there. Let me see what this template looks like. This one says just sold, the price, the link. So maybe I'm just promoting the fact that the property just sold. Maybe I do those or maybe I don't, but either way, I want a video in there. So I'm going to take the video widget.
Wait, what would be the reason for promoting something that just sold?
Well, maybe you want to market to your database success. Like, hey, we're selling properties. Hey, this property, where I would do this is, hey, this property just sold for 400,000 in 14 days. It had 4 offers. So there's 3 other people looking for properties in your neighborhood. Who do you know that might be looking to buy or sell, invest in real estate in this area? Yeah, it's all.
After it closes, though.
This template would be for that, yeah.
Yeah.
This template would be for that. But regardless of the template, I'm going to just show you the video feature. So you grab your design, put it in there, and there it is. Now you can see the difference between image and video. It's pretty straightforward. Click on the image or the video, hit the pencil. Pretty straightforward, right? Add the link from YouTube. What doesn't happen is that, you know how on YouTube, usually most videos have like a thumbnail picture to it. That doesn't happen automatically. So you have to put a picture in there of what the picture's going to show. So if it were like a house or something, maybe you would just put a picture of the house in there because right now, if I put a YouTube video link in there, it's not just going to populate that link to that video, the thumbnail from that video. Once I put my links in, hit done. Obviously, I can't right now, doesn't save anything, but then we would save. And then the last little widget that we have in here is this one called Market Snap. So let me just put it in the place of this. Delete this one.
So what were you saying if you took a YouTube video?
Well, you would take the link of the YouTube video, you go to YouTube, hit share, take that link and copy and paste it into there. But the point is that the thumbnail doesn't roll over. You still need to put your own picture of what you want.
At the beginning of the video, like a picture of the beginning of the video.
Yeah, let me show you what I mean. So if I put this right here, this video link.
We want to see a video.
We have more videos.
You want to see one? All right, let's say I wanted to share this video. Hit share. Copy the link. Go back to command and I'm going to hit edit. Put the link in there. That's where the link's going to go to when they click on it, hit done, but there's still no picture there. I have to decide what picture I want there. So I either have to download a picture from somewhere, make a picture, maybe I have my own little design or whatever the case may be. The point is that the picture doesn't roll over. So you guys have to always put a picture in there. If not, this is what it's going to show like when they receive it. Any other question on that? Okay. The last widget here, let me just delete this one. It just kind of simplified things, is the Market Snap widget. Remember, guys, you don't have to use every widget. I'm just showing you what you're capable of doing. So the Market Snap widget, when you hit edit, is going to ask you, so let's just put 34108 as the zip code. And it's saying here, these are the neighborhoods that it's populating. So you remember in command when I went through and I said add neighborhoods? Remember the little boxes that you see squared around different neighborhoods? That's the data that it's pulling from. Is it going to be 100% perfect? No way, this neighborhood crosses through this and that's not right. No, I don't care. This is not a listing presentation. This is an overall broad view of the market. We were that serious about it, we should all be up and fighting against Zillow and all these sites that are giving the same garbage. So don't worry about it. Naples Park North right here, Naples Park, that's what I want to put. So I'm going to click on that neighborhood and I'm going to hit done. And it's going to populate the neighborhood as it shows up right now. Shows the active listings, the pending. So it'll auto populate all that data. This will be good, especially if you're doing newsletters. Could be beneficial for newsletters. Unless you have already a more detailed approach that you're taking for it, then maybe that still might be the best way to go about it. Go for it.
As a new agent, could we do that? But aren't we supposed to contact each one of those agents that's represented and say we're sharing your information or something?
No. I think more what you're talking about is, so like if I was going to list a property on my social media to market it, I should be giving listing courtesy to who listed the property. And if it's not my listing, it should be giving courtesy to that person. I'll be transparent. If I had a John Arwood listing or whoever listing, I would put it, and I would say courtesy of John Arwood. Give credit to the brokerage because it's the brokerage who has the listing, not the agent. It's the brokerage. So, but if I was going to do ads on a property, I would ask for permission for that,
No,
like
okay.
Facebook ads.
In this case, because you listed what, 6 items, 6 locations, hypothetical.
No,
Are those also hyperlinked to their MLSs? Next question.
nothing hyperlinks to MLS. Everything hyperlinks to whatever you link it to.
To your webpage.
Yes, everything's always, you always want to link things back to your webpage. And I see this on Facebook a lot. People try to link their MLS on Facebook. Don't do that. Link your website. Your website can at least capture leads. MLS can't. And it looks like garbage. My take on that. Link it to your website. Which later on, and not today, but in the future class, I will talk to you about your website and how to use it for lead generation and getting people to sign in. So we will cover that eventually. But let's go mess around with some other templates. I'm not going to hit save because I don't want to clutter my stuff up. So I'm just going to and here's I'll warn you right now, even if I hit save here, when I exit, it still asks me to save again. Just do it. It's protecting you. It's annoying sometimes, but it's protecting you. So I saved it, but let's say I want to delete it. I can just use a little dots and I'm just going to, actually, no, let me show you this. Let's say I use this template frequently. And I want to repeat it over and over, but just different information. I might say, make a copy. I'm going to leave it in yours, unless you're on a team, it's just going to have one account. So I'm going to leave it on my one personal account. And there it is, the copy. So maybe I will leave the old one there and then work off the new copy for the new listing. And before I even click on it, save changes. Every time you exit, it's going to ask you to save changes, even if you didn't make any changes. You can rename it right there as well. So you don't have to go all the way into it to rename it. You can just do it right there, 124 Main Street. Whatever you decide to name it, finish, and there you go. That's just going to make life a lot easier later when you have almost 400 designs and you're looking for a particular one. If you're consistent with your naming, you'll be able to find it. And unless it's a garbage design, I probably would save it. There's sometimes that I'm like, man, let me go back to the design. I just, instead of recreating the wheel, I like that one. Let me go back to it. So I'd probably just leave most of your designs in there. This one I know is junk, so I'm just gonna, let me see. I'm gonna delete that one. It's junk. Maybe refresh here. It's gone. I'm gonna delete this one because I know it's junk too. Hit delete and it'll be gone. Okay. Questions before I go to the next one? Key thing I want you to know. Go for it.
This is Joe.
Yes, Joe.
Hey, I got a question. When you save it, is it saving it to your local computer or is it saving it to?
Everything lives in command. Everything lives in command. Does this not save
Okay.
to your local computer?
Excellent. Okay.
My final point on email designs is before you go create, let me just go back into there. Before you go creating one from scratch, because we can start with a clean template, go see if there's a template that already exists that you like. Search for the keywords maybe, or again, just hover through these 73 templates. But if you wanted to create one from scratch, I'm gonna hit create new templates and I have a blank slate. Here now I can start to put in text and I can put in images and I can start to do whatever I want to do and start doing everything we just talked about. It's all the same widgets here and I can start designing one from scratch. So that's an option as well. Questions before I go to the next part? All right, let's hit social media. So now let's go into social media. It's just a new little widget. Who's used this already? You used it? Oh. Okay. So in here, we have, let me just condense all these widgets off to the left-hand side. Here are all the options for templates. So that's down. There's a lot, as you can see. So from the top down, you have auto create. So coming soon, for sale, just listed, open house just sold. Auto create means literally it's going to pull the data from your listing and automatically insert it into the design. Is it 100% perfect? No, there might have been something that was in the wrong line possibly, and you might just need to edit it, which you'll see in a moment when we go into one, how to edit it. But if you look at coming soon, for example, there's all my template designs. Right now I'm hovering over all. But then there's just square, and maybe there's just stories. If you wanted to do stories, squares do not show up well on stories. Stories show up great on stories because of the format of it. Notice how it's longer and, you know, what is that? What do you call that, portrait versus square? Won't show up as good. So start with the one that you need. Next, we have K-score. You may not probably use that. I use it because I promote the fact that we have free real estate schools. So I take some of the designs from there and I use that to market and make ads. That's something I do. Listings. Well, here's you go. Some of the other ones that we already saw for sale, coming soon, just listed, just sold. Oh, there's templates in here for listing presentations, by the way, if you didn't know that. Local experts, what is that? Okay. So local expert has a social wide. This would be kind of cool for a banner. Social square, probably for something I want to just post up there. Oh, how's the market? I can give a little snapshot of how's the market. I could do all of Collier County, or I can do by neighborhood.
Is that up to date?
No, you pull the data. These are the designs. You pull the data. These are just the design templates for you. And then stories, same thing. I mean, these right here are average overall national rates. Maybe you partner with a lender and get some numbers from them as well. They're all template designs for you. Verify the numbers. Make sure it makes sense. Make sure it makes sense in the market that we're in at the time that you do it. What else is out there? Again, open houses. We already kind of saw that. Same idea. We're going to go through in a moment and design and edit one, but I just want to go through quickly here. There's buyer presentations in here. Remember the neighborhood snaps from earlier, kind of like those data points. There's actually social media content you can put just around that. So let's say I wanted to do some stories, but it's specifically to neighborhoods. Could I not probably maybe put 10, I mean, I'm just making stuff up here as I go, but look, I could do 10 stories a day, different popular neighborhoods in the area, and say, hey, what neighborhood do you want to see next? That could work for some social media content. Lead generation designs. What are these? Oh, home safe for the holidays, 5 tips. Okay. I haven't seen these yet. So I used to use this one actually. This one right here. I used to edit that one. And for each home anniversary that came up, I used to put like 1-year anniversary, 2-year anniversary, 3-year anniversary. And if I was friends with the person, I would tag them on social media and put a post up. Or I would just say, for privacy reasons, I would say, you know, happy anniversary to the Reyes family, 4 years in their new home. It was a pleasure to, helping you and being a part of that journey. Looking forward to continuing to help people just like you.
Just put that directly.
No, I posted, no, if it was somebody that that's very social like that, on social media, and I knew if I tagged them, it would be okay, I would do it, but if it was something private or I don't have them on social media, I kept it broad, last name, I never said, you know, the Reyes family, it could be a bunch of different families, so I just said the Reyes family, or whatever family I'm referring to. Birthdays I would do though. So I actually purposely, I don't know if you guys ever noticed on your birthdays, if you've been friends with me for some time, or at least 1 year of your birthday, unless it's the weekend. I usually have a birthday post that I put on your post, on your wall, that comes from these squares. Where I just find a happy birthday one, and then I do, and I post it on people's walls. I also do the stories, it's been a while in the stories, because just, I don't like posting too much on that right now. But I could do the same thing, happy birthday, and put it on their story, and put it on my story, wishing them a happy birthday. A lot of people are gonna see that. There's client testimonial with designs in there, those for sure I would use whenever you get a review, go in here, pick a nice design, square and story, throw it out there. Share your success. Event invitations, there's this templates already there for you for that. Market experts, so again, it's just data points again. And I'm curious, let me see these, I'm curious what's in here. There's 4, notice how there's a number here?
Yeah.
4, so it looks like there's 4 pieces to this design, so I'm just kind of curious what it is. Yeah. All right, so 4 designs, I'm gonna click pages over here, I'm gonna see what those designs are. So these are national numbers. Actually, this would be great for all of you. This would be great for all of you.
Well, just to throw on your page.
Yeah. All you gotta do is really brand it to yourself. And then here, this could be your mortgage partner information is what they're doing here. You put them there, you put current, what they're getting for, what they're seeing for rates. So yeah. Historically, this just shows you the back 30 years. So this is national. So these numbers you can use, just be very clear in your post, hey, these, and it is clearly written on that these are national numbers. When you saw those 2s, that's not coming back.
Right.
Get over it. It's not coming back.
Yeah.
I like that widget. That's pretty cool.
If we have this.
You don't want it to come back, that means something really, really bad.
Oh yeah, I don't want to do it back. Yeah, I'm good. Took advantage of it, but I'm good. All right, let's go back to the templates again. And I'm just gonna keep going through here. The open house ones, here's where we were here. Home values, I love KW, inspiration. What are the inspirational ones? Okay. Nice, probably more leadership stuff here. Your app. These are kind of cool. See flyers here.
So if we set up a system to be using this, how often? You know, I feel like in real estate for me, the more I have it just naturally happening, like it's a plan. So how often should this be? Like implemented into our social media part of?
I think that's a great question, and I don't think there's a one size fits all approach. This is what I would do if I were you guys. I would sit down and I would plan things quarterly. So, what the heck? Go all the way to December. Get the year knocked out. And make a plan. Here's the thing, most of us are just coming in and doing what feels right that day as far as it comes to marketing. There's no consistency. I think about YouTubers. YouTubers are pretty, for the at least the good ones, are pretty consistent in when they post, the time they post, the way their content shows up. There's consistency. You want to do the same thing with your marketing. Don't just go out here and be like, today I want to send out an open house. Today I want to do it just listed. Today I want to do this. Today I want to do that. Make a plan around, okay, when it comes to your database, what are you sending out? I used to do it very simply. So what I'm going to do here literally was just a repeat. So I used to send out the monthly nurture. That's the automatic one. Newsletter. And I didn't do neighborhood specific newsletter just because I wasn't farming a specific neighborhood, but I forgot who I was talking to that has a pretty massive database for one neighborhood. I'm like, okay, then you need to do a neighborhood specific newsletter because you already have a huge database of people living in that one neighborhood. So that makes sense. I used to do a buyer needs video. So I literally used to sit on camera and send this out once a month, and I would pick out 3 buyers that I was working with, and if I didn't have 3 buyers, I'd go find agents who had a buyer, and if it was 3 agents, great, if it was 1 agent, great, but I would just say, hey, what are your buyer needs? You know, in the office when we talk about buyer needs, that's where I would take it from if I didn't have one myself. Carol has a buyer need for XYZ, they're looking for this, this, and that. I would make a video, hey, this is Jordas with Keller Wynn. I'll show, I think I even have some in the video, so I can show you, since you guys want to see that. And it's literally for like, I think it's, most of them were 2 to 3 minutes going through, hey, and I never gave names. It was just very broad, like, hey, we're working with this family. I would try to personalize it enough to make it personal, but not where I'm giving off who the people are. You know, I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, there's a couple just divorced and the husband wants to go here, and like, we don't do that. But again, that was just something I used to send out. And then I used to also send out a video of some sort. And usually the video was like a highlight. I went through a phase where I was like just going like, oh, like I don't know if I was intending to be a YouTube star or what the heck I was doing. But I'll show you guys one. And I would just go tour properties, neighborhood or community construction, new construction, and like make a whole video out of it, like 5 to 6 minute tour videos. Some were fun videos that I would just go do with my daughter, like local stuff. But that's what they were getting pretty much every month from me consistently. From an email. So this was my email strategy. If you guys remember, it's a combination of emails, events, calls, items in the mail. I will tell you this right now. Remember, this is all pre-planned. I already know what I'm going to do. For my mail items, it was very simple. I used to send out a calendar at the beginning of the year, and that wasn't to all the strangers in my database that don't know. It's only to my sphere of influence, my 450 people that were like the ones that were doing business with me, past customers, referring business to me. That's who got all this. I didn't spend this on junk people that I don't have relationships with yet. But for me, it was simple. It was the calendar. It was a birthday card. Can't spell birthday. Holiday card. And what was the other one I used to do? Oh, the home anniversary. I had it. Can't spell. That was my mail strategy for my database. So that's my mail strategy. Here was my monthly email strategy. Now, what the question came up was like using these templates for social media. So I had a great class I attended with a lady by the name of Jenny Friday. She runs Jenny Friday. She runs a marketing company. And you guys actually, if you go to our office YouTube channel, you'll find her training that she did because we recorded it down in Marco Island. Jenny Friday, if you look her up on our page, you'll find the video class from that. And she has an amazing strategy that she kind of goes through every month, planning going into the new month around design idea or more content planning. So what she would do essentially is like, all right, we're creating our social media plan for September. Let's start listing out without really overthinking anything what we could do in September. So let's just start listing out things. All right, so we promote some listings. I heard about a new construction, so maybe I might go do a new construction community and do a lot of that. Maybe I want to do some motivational stuff. And tell me, guys, what's happening in September? What isn't it Labor Day? Not bad. We're good with national holidays. Is Labor Day September? Now, I'm just gonna write national holidays. You guys figured that out, right? National holidays. I want to be quirky. I want to do the silly ones too. So I'm gonna pull maybe like 3 to 4 silly ones, like those National Taco Day, National, I don't know, Chair Day, whatever the stuff you guys see out there. And she starts basically brainstorming different topics, different ideas, and then from there she'll figure out a calendar that simply just says from Monday to Friday. And we generate some of the content. Now, obviously, we don't know what listing we might promote on a certain week, but we just know that day we're going to promote a listing. Maybe it's not just a listing, maybe it's the deal of the week or something like that.
You could add local market knowledge to that.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, market stats.
You could add promoting your app to that.
Exactly. You can add that on the second Tuesday every month, you go through and you pull a tip from one of these designs, or you pull the mortgage stats from one of these designs. You get to pick that part. There's no strategy that any agent can give you other than sit there, brainstorm. But this is your business, guys. This is the opportunity for you to make yourself unique to your audience.
What was the one that said Jenny Friday?
Jenny Friday. If you literally type in Jenny Friday, I'm pretty sure on our page, look for it. You'll see it. It was this year, I think it was in February or March that we did that class, so maybe that date will help you. Was this helpful? I know I kind of went off the tangent here from what we were doing here. I just kind of wanted to illustrate the fact that we need to stop doing things very, what's the right word? Reactive?
Yeah.
And plan your business out.
randomly.
Yeah, stop randomly doing stuff.
Right.
What I would say is get in here, see what's out there and available to you, or sit down, brainstorm what you want to do for the month. Because here's the thing, when you brainstorm what you want to do for the month and just lay out a plan week by week, now it's super easy to execute it.
Right.
Most of you will probably go on your computer on Monday and schedule it out for the week. But there's no more guessing, there's no more wasting. Here's the thing, if you had to go do this day by day, I know you're gonna waste an hour or two in your lead generation time. You're gonna go get coffee, you're gonna go talk in the hallway, then you're gonna go back to your office at 12, hey guys, it's lunchtime. And you haven't made a single dial yet, you haven't talked to a single person.
Yeah, it's motivational. I've never been self-employed, so I need.
Plan, 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 plan.
It makes you not just get by, you're organized.
Yep. Let's see, there's some business stuff there, business cards, email designs, this quick stuff. The letterheads, I kind of like that actually. I used to use this for like putting a cover letter on my listing present, on my pre-list packet when I would send it out. Or I need just to give a letterhead to somebody that I would use that. There's stuff in there for leadership, so I won't go crazy into that stuff here. Well, we're planning for September. What's in September? Corazón. Okay, that's the Spanish one. Hispanic Heritage Month. That's what it was. Okay, Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm not sure what this one is. Russia. Okay, help me there. There you go. So that's what's happening. Labor Day. That was happening. Yes, Labor Day. Oh, I like this one. It's relaxation. Wild relaxation day. Can't speak. So, and you can see that for every month, guys. There's always going to be templates, and then they may even add a few more as time goes on. As we get closer, here you go. You can start planning all your Halloween content. All right, stuff for land, sports and entertainment. If you're a part of that, so again, these are just so like if you're a part of the sports and entertainment division, there's stuff for you for that. So, questions? You kind of get the left hand side. Let's edit one though, so you can kind of get the idea how it works. So let's just go pick just listed, and I want to do a square image. And I can either start from blank. I probably don't want to do that because you're going to waste a bunch of time starting from blank. This would be equivalent for you starting from blank in Canva. But even Canva, there's templates. You probably pull one of their templates and you modify that template. Same idea here. Let's pick a simple one. This one right here, we're going to use. It's going to take us into the editor. I'm going to speed up a little bit, guys, because I want to make sure I don't time out. Make sure you so in mine, like over here, and there's stock images, by the way, guys, and so that you guys can pull some from. So there's some stock images, or you can just add your images by uploading right here from the computer. I want to show you here logos. There are logos in here. Now these are the general logos. I believe in my images I already have. Let me see here, my assets. I think I already uploaded like different pictures from the past. Hold on, I want to show you. Let me click on here, double click. Oh, no, don't go back. I didn't mean to. Slow down when you're doing designs and editing. So you don't do what I did.
I feel like I found in my design, the more I just played with it, the more I learned. And it is beauty and,
Yep.
but you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, I personally, I've seen people get frustrated using it. Just get in there and use it, and you just learn to use it. Make sure you downloaded your KW logo to your computer so you have it, because right now it's always going to show the DBA name. It's waiting for you to upload the actual office logo. That won't auto-populate for you. Double click the picture if I want to replace the picture. Because I'm already in there. And let's assume I'm going to pull up my picture from wherever. I don't have any picture on here, so I really can't replace one. Do I have any old ones?
Yeah, so I was wondering that mine weren't saving, like, or drag it over and it didn't save it.
No, you don't want to drag. That's why.
So how else do you get it?
So hold on, let me see if I can. Yeah, this one's been a little quirky. Hold on. There we go. That's an awesome dude. All right, so you're probably doing that, which by the way, like that looks horrible. It doesn't look like that here. It's gonna fix itself. I don't know why it does that. Once I refresh it and save it, it will fix itself. But that's not what I want to show you. Hold on. Steps there. Let's see here. Do you guys have here? There we go. We go to KWLS here and see if I can find a listing. There we go. I'm gonna select this listing here. See, you see when I'm clicking what is highlighting around, that's what this is where the quirkiness sometimes comes in. So I'm gonna just move that little box right here to the side so I can click my actual image, what I want. And then let me see this here. I'm gonna, oh, I don't want it there. That went to the backdrop. Take that out. Add this one in. Resize it how I want it. Write your design, make sure it's where you want things. I'm gonna probably move this box back how it was. There we go. And then I'm just gonna keep going through and double clicking everything, start making changes. Start modifying all the text. Here I would put my address in, etc. Once you're done designing it and you have all the changes made, then you're gonna, if you hit done, it's just gonna save that design. But what you wanna do is hit download because you're gonna share this on social media. And when you download it, it's gonna ask you what file format you want. Obviously for an image on social media, you probably just wanna do a high quality PNG image. Hit download, and then it downloads it to your computer. And then you'll upload it on Facebook from there. Question on that?
I have questions about just images, like my own uploaded images, but prior to even getting those images, would it be okay if I like go to open house and just take photos like a new builds, or how does that work? Or like just homes that are already in the neighborhood, can I take those photos and just take photos of that?
I think it depends on what you're doing though. So like if I go to the new community and I take a bunch of pictures, I'm just gonna post them. They're my pictures. If I'm using someone else's pictures, I want permission. I just want permission to use them. So that's why like if I do an ad for somebody's property, I'm gonna want some previous agreement. Hey, yeah, you can use my picture for an ad. So just be cautious on that piece there, but yeah. One thing I just want to show you while we're here, and here's the reality, guys. My admin does a lot of this stuff now, so that's why I'm kind of also bouncing around a little bit because it's been a while on me personally. Layer here, I just want to show you, like for example, notice how the line is kind of going under the picture. You guys notice that? So I'm gonna hit layer here. I'm gonna bring it down. Up. Do that again.
You want it in front or in back?
I think I want it in front. Let me see how it looks actually.
It's a little off center.
Oh, that's the cabinet. Say it again? No, I want the picture back, I think is what maybe I want to do that. Hold on, let me see how I want it. Let's send it forward. It's not doing it, is it? Oh no, it did. Okay, it did. It's the picture that's because notice how it sent it forward from the letters. Yeah, so just gotta again play with it and see how you want. That's why again with these templates, I just keep it simple to the way the design is, and I don't make much changes. I already started changing this too much. But that's for that feature. Let me go. I'm not gonna save this here, so I'm gonna go back home. I got 30 minutes to hit on this feature, so let me speed up real fast because I want to make sure I don't miss something here. Let me go back to my templates. Let's actually go back to let's get out of here. let's go to great design. Print. I'm not even gonna really get deep into it. In here, you'll see just again, print flyers that you can do. So a lot of the same topics over here, but this is gonna be for stuff that you're gonna print out. So you can hover back and forth between bifolds, door hangers, trifolds, postcards, etc. So you would go in there for print designs. Editing is the same format that I've been showing you on everything else. The last one I'll show you in here is video design. I used to use this, and I think somebody triggered me to think of this when you said market stats. Let's go back to that Naples Park one as an example. All right, there's Naples Park North, hit next. You can verify the data that it auto-populates, so you can make changes to it here. Make all your changes, and then it generates a little video for you. That pulls up. This would be a good one to like promote them downloading your app. Yeah, oh, there you go. I didn't even realize I was gonna say that.
Wow, I love that.
Impressive, isn't it?
Oh my God.
And I just did that.
Oh crap, I didn't download it. You would make sure to hit download.
But that's what you made, or was it video?
No, it does that for you. Yeah, it's a template. It just pulls from that.
And active data.
Yeah, you can edit that stuff too. You can edit.
How many each athlete?
It's the template that's there. I agree with you. Yeah, but that.
She's not very.
How to make you happy here. All right. Everything's in designs. Let me segue away from this here because I'm gonna run out of time if I'll do it quickly. So Twilio, you guys know what Twilio is? Yes, already? Yes or no? Twilio is a texting feature. So let me just tell you how do you go about even setting it up. You go to the marketplace up here in top right, top middle there, marketplace.
Just have one question. I keep
Go for it,
forgetting
Melissa.
to ask it.
Yeah.
The days on market, does it stop when it goes in the contract or until it closes?
It's usually so it goes on the contract.
Okay.
Marketplace, I'm typing Twilio. That's not how you spell it. There it is.
Wait, something doesn't come up when you hit up marketplace?
What we're in right now is what should have popped up. You click on Twilio. Remember, you guys can watch this later too. I gotta go fast just to get going here. First step, set up your Twilio account, set up a phone number and command, and then you can start sending receive messages. So here are all the plan options that are there for you guys. So like when I started this, I did start with a cheap plan, and then I realized I ran out of 300 text credits really fast. Typically, every text message, even if you didn't include an emoji, is 1 credit. You start including pictures, it takes up 2 to 3 credits. So you start using them quickly, and they do roll over. So if you guys remember those rollover minutes back in the, what is it, pre-2006? They roll over your minutes, so that's pretty cool. And then there's other packages there, depends on how aggressively you use this feature. When you set it up, and when I wish for the class I would have pre-planned, maybe somebody wanted to set up so we can use it as an example, but then you'll get a list of phone numbers. You'll put in the area code you want, and it's what's there and available. You know when somebody calls you from 239, but sometimes they might say Cape 4, or sometimes it says Immokalee, sometimes it says Nape. It's what's available. Go through the list of phone numbers available, find the one that you wanted to say. It's not gonna, like, well, actually, I just did one for somebody in Marco, and we did find a Marco one. So there was a one that said in the caller ID Marco Island. So we would set up that phone number, then we can also set up call forwarding to you. It's hard to really show you guys this part of the setup because I already have it all set up. We can also set up call forwarding, so when somebody calls you at that phone number, it will ring on your phone. So that's another thing as well. When you get text back, when they text you back, where that actually shows up is in your command account. So remember, I think I showed you guys an example before where up here, I told you that it would show here, hey, you received a text message. And your actual message just shows up on your timeline. So let me go to Andrew here.
Yeah, because if you didn't forward it to your number, where would it ring?
Well, call forwarding rings to your number if they call you at this number, but your text messages show up in command. Yeah, text messages are in command. So this gentleman the other day, Andrew, he actually sent me a text. And so this is a listing coming up. And he texted me through the system. I knew he texted me because my command app alerted me, hey, you have a message in command. And I just went right through the command app and replied right there to them. So this, and then if I want to reply, I can hit reply. And then right in here, I can start sending my text message. I can add emojis. I can add pictures. I'm not gonna actually, oh, that's a too big of a picture. It has to be under 5 megs. Do I have another picture in there? That's so I downloaded a high quality picture, so that's takes up a lot more. Let me see if there's a smaller picture in here. There it is. And then right here, so you can see all my available credits. Just keep rolling over because I'm not using it as aggressively, so they're still there. And then I can calculate the cost of this message. So this message, because I got a picture, emoji, text, it's going to be 3 credits for that text to go out. And then I hit send. I'm not going to do it though. So, and I'm going to talk about some strategies here in a second. Here's how I also like to use Twilio. Let's say, for example, I'm in my database now that I have all this set up. And let's just say hypothetically, these 10 people on the first page, or whatever filter I'm using, I want to send them a message. Is the point. I can click multiple people. I can hit select bulk action, and I'm going to send a text message. Now it's going to show the people where it's going to go to. I'm going to put my text in. I'm going to put my image. I'm going to hit calculate cost. I can see how much it's going to cost me. There is a limit of 200 text messages a day, and then I'm going to hit verify and send. And it's going to send the same message to all 10 of those people, or however many you selected. The max is 200 a day. Questions on that?
So, Twilio, what is that? Is that like a work added phone I could add to my personal line?
Look at it. Who's familiar with Google Voice? That's kind of like who I remember first starting virtual numbers. It's a virtual number. It's a virtual number. So
I add to my phone.
yeah, like I actually added to my contact card as me. So when I share my phone number with somebody from my phone directly, it already saved that number on there. So if I, for some reason, call them through that or text them through that, hey, it is Jordas Reyes. Yeah, it is you. And here's one piece of advice. Like if you do set this up and you intend to use it for your sphere of influence, who has a different number for you, then you're going to want to probably send an initial text message. Hey, it's Jordas Reyes. I have a new work number that I use specifically just for work. Can you just say this into my contact so you know it's really me?
Because in the message, it won't like have our signature at the bottom or anything.
Whatever you put, it's whatever, so at the end of every text message, I always generally put Jordas Reyes. But keeping in mind, so for my sphere of influence, they, for the most part, have at least already received one text message from me from the system. So again, telling them, hey, it is me. And if it's somebody at an open house, then same thing. They generally they know no different. Hey, it's Jordas Reyes, just mentioned the open house at 123 Main Street. Thanks for stopping by. What did you think about the property? Then I just continue to market to them to that number. If they try to call me back there, it still rings on my phone. Yep, still rings on my phone. One little heads up. And when somebody calls you, the credits do eat up quicker. When you go to set it up, it'll tell you, I want to say it's like 3 credits a minute. So I usually tell them, hey, I'll call you right back. And I just recall them back on my cell phone. So that I'm not eating up a bunch of credits while I'm on the phone with them. So that's what I like to do. Now, what I wanted to show you is like, so once you've set up Twilio, again, you're using it to maybe text people from open houses, whatever the case may be. I think, let me go to my smart plans. I think I still have it in there. I'm deleting a lot of my smart plans, so I can remove the clutter. Let me see. Here we go. I think I've shown you guys this before. So This is one, I'm not using it as much right now in this way, but I still have it there. If you guys were here for the class where I did smart plans, you guys remember this format, right? You guys remember this? So one of the things I did here is I set this up right here. So essentially, what did I do here? Is it every 30 days? No, every 90 days. Yep, I set it up for every 90 days. Essentially, we get a text message from me. And that text message rotated for between these 5 messages.
And that also incorporates Twilio.
This is all going out through Twilio. Yeah. So the text message just said, hello, just checking in. How's your day going? That's one version of it. The next one would have been, hey there, what's new with you and your family since we last spoke? Hey, I was curious. Have you come across anyone thinking of buying or selling that I should call? I appreciate you supporting me. Hey, how's work going? Hey there, let's catch up again soon. And it would just rotate every 90 days between one of those messages. So I knew that,
So the person replies, so that was the number that.
yeah, and then I just get alerted the minute
I absolutely have to without a one. And so you have to make a conversation. It's all the values.
yes. Listen, I don't know what package I run. I mean, you guys talked like 89,000 credits because I haven't been in the last 2 years using it as much. I only been using it for birthdays, but I've never felt like I ate it up that quick. And it's just the cost of doing business and convenience for me. I mean, for me to now send out to and here's the thing, I don't want to show, I'm not telling you this in the sense of like, hey, replace calling people. But what triggered me to do that was actually COVID. And that's when I started using it because I had so much other stuff happening that year that I'm like, okay, but my people still need to hear from me. So I'd set it up so they would just get an automatic text from me and it would have 20 text messages to go out every single day.
You could always send a message to my unlimited plan.
Yeah. I see your guys' head spinning. What are you guys thinking? What questions do you have?
From cost.
Oh, well, yeah, and guys, again, I'm shocked. Anything I talk to you about, anything I show you is not with the intention of, hey, go do that right now today. My first 4 months, so just like I started in KW January 2017, I came over from a different brokerage. Started January 17. I was taking like night in February. I took Bold in March, and like many of you, I was just coming into the office, sitting in. At that time, this wasn't even a training room. This used to actually be offices here. That room over there was the training room. So I would sit in there, or there was never really anybody here. So I'd sit in this area, and I would just work here. That was my office, just like many of you before you get an office. And then once I first got my first 4 deals on a contract. Then I started thinking, okay, how much is each deal? How much is office going to cost me? Okay, I'm going to pay for the next 6 months of offices from this. Like, and so the book by Gary Keller, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, teaches you to lead with revenue. I didn't go spend a bunch of money until I started making some money. Usually a lot of people go spend money in hopes of making money. Right. So I agree, have a balance. You don't necessarily today need to do Twilio. You don't need today do anything that's heavy marketing fees. This is free, guys. All this stuff here, you guys can do for free. I actually don't believe in going crazy with like leads and programs like that. We do it. Yeah, I'm actually in charge of generating some leads for a small group of agents, but you guys, that's always icing on the cake because those are not profitable. When you start paying for leads and stuff like that, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying they're not going to be as profitable with versus you just putting in the work, using something, marketing yourself, and then generating your own leads. When you generate your own leads, those are always going to be more profitable for you. You're going to cap faster. They're actually going to cap at $3.1 million that we say you would cap at a 3% commission. If all the leads you're getting are coming from referral sources, you have to pay referral fees. It's going to maybe take you $5 million in volume to cap. I don't care, honestly, at the end of the day, as long as I cap, but just
So when you
gotta
get a phone call from Zillow or Redfin or whatever.
bye-bye, I hang up.
Okay.
Do not take those calls. Do not take those calls. Because they're going to sell you a package. They're going to say, hey, we have a zip code available that just became available. And if you act now, you can get this zip code. And then you're going to pay a bunch of money. And here's the thing. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Hear me out, guys. Online leads do work, but those that are in the program with me that are working leads, you guys know what I'm about to say is true. The conversion rate on that is very low.
And I wanted to test it out, 'cause I had a listing on Zillow, I wanted to test that I was interested in the property. And so they sent me, someone else's like another agent.
You paid a lot of money to have your phone number.
And I was like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
If it's too good to be true, it's usually
And-
too good to be true.
So here's the reality, guys. It's not that it's too good to be true. It's just a higher cost of doing business. And most of us as single agents are not set up to work that type of business.
After I didn't respond, they followed up, how's everything going?
I don't know what
I had
to
like
think.
repeated contact from
From
that.
that. Say it again?
Wait,
No,
what?
guys, when you're buying those leads are being sold to multiple agents. You're not the only one getting that lead. You're silly to think that you are. So again, the conversion rates are really low to online leads. It's not that they don't work. I know many successful agents doing it, but I also know they pay a lot of money to do it. I know one agent who last year did about $10 million. This year's already on track to almost beat that. And they spend $17,000 a month to get these type of leads. They don't, so what I'm gonna say is, and it's not profitable. You're making just as much at the end of the day, bottom line, as an agent who just does this. They're not having to spend $17,000 a month to
And
get,
you're working triple.
and you're reacting like crazy because when a lead comes in, if you don't call that lead right away, and if they don't if you don't go show that property right away, which means you're probably never doing a buyer consultation, you're never doing a needs analysis, you're never doing a loyalty agreement, you're just running around. Some will work, some will work. $10 million last year for them, but many don't. There's so many ways to run this business, I think, is the lesson with that. So many ways to run this business. I was cheap. I was cheap. Education is the main thing that I didn't cheap out on. Education is the only thing I didn't cheap out on. Everything else I was super cheap with. Even open houses. I ain't getting the fancy paper from Staples. Print. I'm gonna get the cheap little paper back there, whatever cardstock that is. Print some little cheap flyers and let charisma and engaging, interacting with people be the reason they want to work with me.
Right.
Not because I had this amazing marketing kit at a house.
Like, I'm interested in how to get like out of state.
Yeah, I used it for that too. So, well, we have online class. The class for that, I think, is when I get back. We're gonna do ads, and that's gonna buy me some time because they actually just yesterday updated the way we do ads. So I'm literally learning the new way of doing it. It's not that it's difficult, but it's a new layout, so I'm just kind of getting used to it. But what's beautiful about it now is that we can now do Google ads as well. So we can do pay-per-click Google ads. Which is the reason a lot of agents use other websites that you guys know there's CRMs out there like Boomtown, and I'm not knocking any of them. But what's interesting to me is that essentially those companies are doing ads on Google, that's what they're doing, but you're also paying like $1,000 a month to access their platform.
Right.
You're paying your $100 monthly fee to the office. That also includes your, also includes your document, it also includes everything else, and you have a lot of features built in that you can do. Just like now, you can start doing ads on Google and Facebook and all your sites. So
If only we do that.
there's gonna be a class for that. There's gonna be a class for that. But here's the thing, team. I hope you guys are kind of getting this now that you got to get in there and use it. You can't be afraid of these systems. And I'm done, I think, with the teaching for today. I'm just gonna answer questions for the next like 9 minutes or so. But you just gotta jump in and do it. Sometimes I see folks just get overwhelmed by it. I'm like, listen, welcome to running a real estate business. That's what you signed up for. You guys seen the poster, right? It used to be right here. Maybe you haven't before the remodel, but it's in my office if you guys want to go in there. That says the 5 jobs of the real estate agent. You guys know what they are? Who somebody here knows it? Huh? Hang in there. Hang in there. The 5 jobs of the real estate agent. Write this down. It's lead generation.
Hold on.
I'm literally going as slow as I can. This is slow for me.
Spell it.
Yeah. Job number 1, lead generation. Job number 2 is lead follow-up. Job number 3 is go on appointments. Job number 4 is negotiate contracts. And job number 5 is script practice and role playing. If you're not spending 80% of your time of your week doing those. Four was, negotiate contracts.
Script practice.
Script practice and role play is the last one, number 5. That is literally your job description right there. Your job description is not to make amazing websites and amazing marketing pieces. I mean, yes, that's going to be something that's important. But the thing is, most agents spend time doing the busy work, and they never live in these 5 jobs. And the reality is this: if you don't practice your scripts, if you don't practice the listing presentation that you're going to give to a seller at their house for $1 million, you're going to bomb it. You can't just expect to go to a listing appointment, whether it's $1 million or whether it's $100,000, family or not. That's another excuse, or not excuse, but another thing that gets in the way. Oh, it's family, they already know me. Yeah, more reason for you to be more professional. When the market started to shift away from this massive, amazing over list price market to a more skill-based market, I saw experienced agents come to me and say, hey, I need help with my listing presentation. Because now I actually lost a piece of business to an agent that came in and actually had a presentation. Going back to the job description, job number 5, which really you can probably move up to job number 1, script practice and role play. If you're not script practicing at least 4 to 5 hours a week, 4 to 5 hours a week in the script book, saying out loud, saying it in your head, practicing with somebody across the table from you, physically doing the presentation, it's going to take a while, and you're going to have some bumps in the road, and you're going to lose some business, and it's just going to be a bigger learning curve.
The scripts found on YouTube.
So,
Eric
go ahead.
can script practice every morning from 8 to 8:30, so anybody can join them.
yeah, so Erica.
Eric.
So here's the thing.
We double your calendar, we do it every morning.
Every
Yep.
morning.
Every morning it's on the calendar, but here's the thing with script practice, guys, too. Those calls are not going to be enough. They're not enough.
I'm not saying that
No, no.
they're more than enough.
I want to layer on more. No, they're not enough. They're not enough. What you do need is an hour. Guys, start with 1 hour a week and then build on it. But realistically, you want to be at 5 hours of practice. Get with somebody, build an accountability group of 2, and go. So mine used to be like Corey Lauer. I guess most of you that are here to know Corey Lauer. Corey Lauer, back when that was our training room, we'd meet at the parking lot, make our script call to each other. We role play like for sale by owners and expireds. Then we go in that room in the afternoon and we would do about 30 minutes of presentation. 15 minutes him, 15 minutes me. Practicing our actual presentation to a buyer or seller. And we always usually practice sellers.
So when you have a listing, usually the first thing they say, if the estimate says this, what would you say in response?
Well, here's the thing. Before they even get to the point where they can tell me that, I've already given them a presentation on how pricing has come.
I did all that and they still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing, I can understand that what the estimate says, and did you know, by the way, that the CEO's estimate of Zillow actually sold his property with an agent for less than his estimate? I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, so here's the thing about the estimates.
I like that.
Yeah. So, and this is where, again, I go back to the stats. And when I do a presentation, for example, we will cover this, guys, in a later class. This is like the last week of the boot camp. We'll cover this topic. I have stats, not even stats. I have listings that are sold and I have listings that are active for sale in front of me. So when they tell me some crazy number above these listings, and theirs is not superior to these houses, the number's right in front of me. And then ultimately it's going to be a conclusion. If they're that delusional about it and they can't come to reality, the motivation is truly not there to sell this property. And then I might have to just step away from the listing and not take the listing. Sometimes you will need to walk away. And actually, that's one of the things that we open up the conversation with. Our meeting is going to go one of 3 ways. You're going to choose to hire me as a real estate agent to list your property. I'm really looking forward to getting to work with you. You may choose not to hire me. I might not be the right fit for you. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Or I may choose not to take on your listing. Is that fair? You wouldn't take on my listing.
Wait, can you?
Everybody wants my listing. Hold on. Everybody wants my listing. No, they don't. Not if it's gonna be overpriced and you choose me to do it, not if you choose a price or have me do marketing that I know won't get your property sold. I'd rather let you down now than let you down later.
Yeah, like giving them the range, and let them not pick the number in that range, all of those things still like kept coming up.
Then that's a listing I don't want.
Oh, I know, it's been.
That's a listing I don't want. So I got 4 minutes to, what did you?
Can you just do that? Our meeting is gonna go one of three ways.
And we will do this at a later time, but yes, just so you guys don't think like, oh my God, we will hit, there's gonna be a day that we're gonna focus on this.
I do wanna find out about this.
Yeah, so, so let me come back to you, scripts. Yes, so first off, bold, we're talking a lot of bold starts in October.
What is bold?
Bold, it is a 7-week mindset coaching program, 10% skills. You're gonna have a listing presentation an outline that they give you in that as well that we will be practicing. Here's the thing, Bold's gonna cost you $7.99. Bold is gonna be reimbursed to you when you close 2 deals while in Bold, or even 90 days after Bold is done, as long as it's business you picked up during Bold. And we will be reimbursing you 400 and 400 back to you because we believe in the program, but you're gonna have to put some skin in the game to go to it, and we gotta pay for the instructor. Let's just face it, guys, there's an instructor. It's gonna be in Naples. It's gonna be in Naples, not in here. It needs to be off-site, bigger room, because we're gonna have upwards of 100 people in there. You need to be in Bold.
DJ and all.
No, not DJ.
Oh, they didn't come in.
Back to your point, I personally, all my scripts have been from when I took Bold the first time, and I just continue to build on it. You can also use Ignite. Ignite script book, just talked to you yesterday about that, has a bunch of scripts in there for buyers and for sellers. Leverage those. Leverage those. They're amazing scripts. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter what script you use. Just don't use the one you're using right now because it sucks.
None. Yeah.
None, right? None. Exactly. That's the point. None. It's horrible. I'm sorry. Your script's horrible. Use the script that's proven. Here's the thing, guys. Use the script that's proven, and then you internalize it so much that you can kind of get off the script a little bit. Yet you're still hitting the major points along the ways. But if you don't have a script right now that's causing you to take listings, then you need to get a better script and go to Ignite, go to Bold, figure out which of the two you want to internalize, and internalize the crap out of that. You act.
I do,
Okay, let me ask you a question. How much time do you prep for a show to internalize your scripts?
a couple of months.
There you go. That's the same thing. All that you already actually have all the skills. I'm not trying to say she's my new favorite now, but guys, she literally, as an actress, has the skills already to internalize the scripts. If you just do what you do with your stage scripts, you're gonna rock this out. It's literally a presentation. There's some agents, actually, there's some agents that's what they tell themselves. All right, it's showtime. There's a whole mindset shift. All right, it's showtime.
Yeah, like every day.
Yeah,
That's much.
it literally is every day.
I'm kidding.
No, it is every day. We fake it sometimes to make it.
Yeah.
All right, let me tell this and then get a break. So, our meeting's gonna go one of 3 ways. You're gonna choose to hire me as your listing agent, and I'm really looking forward to getting to work with you. You may choose not to hire me as the listing agent. Maybe I'm not a good fit. Hopefully that's not the case. Or I may choose not to take you on as a client at this time. Is that fair? That's it.
Well, what's number 2 again?
As friends, it separates friends.
It separates, it's 3 outcomes, and watch the video. They're gonna hire me, they're not gonna hire me, or I may choose not to take them on as a customer. Those are the 3 outcomes. And the most important decision they'll be making tonight is the price that's gonna cause their home to sell. Let's get right into it. What have you heard about the market and what's happening? Buyer's market, seller's market, have you ever used those terms? What do you understand? And then I'm gonna give them a dose of reality, because their reality is very unlikely the truth. Then I'm gonna give them a dose of reality. I'm gonna talk to them about how buyers determine value. We're gonna look at some of the homes up for sale right now that are your competition. And we're gonna determine a price that's gonna put your house to be one of the houses that are gonna sell, because right now, based on Jeff's stats, only 1 in 3 houses are actually gonna sell every month. How do we make sure that your house is one of those ones that sells? So again, that's a later class, we'll go deeper into it.
What's the number 3 again?
I may choose not to take you on as a client at this time. I may choose not to take your listing at this time. Fair enough? Well, no, I don't say because.
Okay.
I say because when they ask me why, well, why wouldn't you want my listing? Well, sometimes sellers have me do marketing that I know won't cost the home to sell, or they choose a price that I know won't sell the house. Therefore, I'd rather let you down now than let you down later.
Okay.
You do want an agent that tells you the truth when it comes to the value of your home. Or do you want an agent that's gonna give you the number you want to hear?
That's the point.
All right, pause, go ahead and pause video and we'll get ready for Jeff's part. Pause video.
You don't pay for it.
Good
You
job.
don't pay for gold
You got it.
moons.
Go ahead, go
You don't pay for gold moons.
ahead, Patricia, pause. Let's say 10:40, guys. Let me go hunt Jeff down.
Last week, and I couldn't, I see that they are, zooming that.
Yeah, you better watch the recording. I gave you the one this morning. Or the other day.
Jordas?
Yeah, you can watch the recording for the last two are on YouTube, our YouTube channel already. And this one will be up probably by tomorrow or the following day.
How do we find that?
KW Naples Marco YouTube. You'll find it right at the top of the list. Recently posted videos.
Joe Cotto over here.
Hold on, Joe. Hold on. Go ahead. Talk to the lender, introduce yourself, and then advise them to go talk to this lender. Hey, I'm gonna connect you with the lender. She's gonna give you a call, or hey, when you have time, so you guys can connect. And then set up an appointment with them to actually do a buyer presentation.
Definitely about the agenda today. Oh, thank you. We'll talk about all the addendums to these contracts. I want to spend some time, we spent some time on inspections, which I think is one of the real key parts of the contract. I want to spend some time today on the financing contingency in both the NABOR and CARBAR contracts. Now, remember, the as-is contracts are the same as the regular contracts, with the exception of the inspections. So that inspection section, we spent a whole class on. Hopefully you appreciate all of the nuances that have to go on during an inspection. The other side of this coin is the financing contingency. They work entirely differently in the two contracts. So let's start with the NABOR contract. Just if you have one from what I printed out, we'll go into the NABOR contract and we will take a look at the financing contingency. And I've got a little flow chart here that I used to explain it. But if you're looking at the NABOR sales contract, there's on line 60, there's a financing contingency. Okay. So the buyer has selected a method of payment called financing contingency. All right. And first, a couple of remarks. All right. Do you have the copies or not?
No.
Want to bring them up?
Yeah, I don't have
That done the as is for NABOR.
Any of the contract language will work fine for that. Well, let's just look at the regular sales contract. Okay. Hopefully this will work this time. Yay, it worked. All right, so where we are is at the top. What the heck's this thing doing? All right. We're going to go to the top. You can see where we just talked about that period of offer and counter offer there. We had a situation, Jordas, that went back to compliance of Sonia because the counter offer came in after the buyer's offer expired. So we talked a little bit about that, but this is where you have to make sure that A, you give time, and B, that when it's received, oh, you got my genuine parts thing, and I have there's no charge for that, by the way. And it was discontinued, so I never.
I ignored all your personal data there.
Yeah.
Seriously, I didn't.
So, all right, 43 and 44, just briefly what we just talked about, because I've got the contract up in front of you. Remember that this 2 days has to be done. The original counter offer has to come back in before the expiration of the buyer's offer, right? So we're talking about signed and delivered prior to the expiration on line 44 there. Okay. I like to say, I always recommend it to be midnight And you don't have to worry if it comes back at 8 o'clock at night and you put 5 o'clock.
Do you express midnight or do you like 11:59, 59?
Yeah. You put it in there, or if you leave that AM and PM blank and just put in the date, it's midnight on that date. All right, so if for some reason you send this over and it has an expiration of 3 o'clock this afternoon, and the seller gets it and says, okay, I want to counter this offer, and they counter the offer at 6 o'clock tonight. The original offer expired before the counter was sent. So if push came to shove, you took this to an attorney, they'd look at it and say, the buyer's original offer expired. The counter offer was essentially a new contract, but it was sent after this offer expired. So you can't counter an expired offer, right?
Then it takes, you have to allow time for them to sign it, read
Right.
it, sign it, so.
So, and I think that's the other thing is if you put 11:59 PM or just the date, then you've given the full date to midnight. And a lot of times things go back and forth and people are busy and the husband might sign it, the wife might sign it later, it depends. So always give a little time. And I always say, you know, give 2 or 3 days. Everybody's like, well, we need to know right now. Well, the closer and tighter you put that time frame in there, the more chance you have for that offer to expire before it can be answered. All right.
And the deal might fall apart.
Pardon?
And the deal might very well fall apart. And like you said in earlier.
It does fall
you're
apart
trying to
because
keep it together.
you don't have a contract. Okay, now, you know, hundreds of these things close. Nobody says anything. It's fine. Sometimes I get the contract and the closing statement at the same time, and it's like, okay, well, it closed, so there's no big deal here, but you want to make sure that you don't leave room for error in these contracts. So what happens if you send it over, the seller wants to counter, but it's past that date? Can the seller just draw a line through that date, the time, and initial it, and have the buyer initial it? Yes.
Yeah.
Because all parties have agreed to extend that period of offer.
Oh, parties, yeah.
Now, so the seller would send the counter, change that effective date, change the counter offer period, initial it, send it to the buyer. The buyer then has to initial the changes and that date. Then you have a contract, okay? It's kind of important because attention to detail is all this is about. And wouldn't your buyer be unhappy if they lost the contract? The seller got a phone call, got a better offer and said, sorry, your contract's no good. I'm moving on to this other offer. How would your buyer feel? Your buyer would feel like maybe you weren't on top of your game. You know? So don't be doing that. All right. And remember also, while we're talking about this, it's accepted and delivered. Meaning just because the buyer or seller signed it during the offer period, but it never was emailed back until the next morning, it's accepted and delivered. And we had a lot of trouble with this during multiple offers. I countered the buyer's offer, sent it over, and the buyer was thinking about it. Okay, we'll get back to you tomorrow. Meanwhile, another offer comes into the seller for more, or for cash, or for better terms. The seller sends over, sorry, I rescind my counter. And you're out. Seller is free to accept another offer. So be careful with response times and keep the communications going,
So if they keep it open, then they can take the other offer?
because the buyer hadn't signed the counter and sent it back.
Ah,
Maybe the buyer signed it, sent it to the agent said, I'll get on that in the morning. And delivers it the next morning. Meanwhile, another offer comes in.
okay.
You can rescind a offer or counter offer in writing to the other side. Email. Seller rescinds the counter offer that they sent you last night. Game over. All right.
It's 12 pages and your customer's gonna read the whole thing.
Okay, so right down here on, you know, if you're looking at this contract, you know, down here in its method of payment, it's a little different in the as is than it is in the regular in terms of line numbers. But first of all, cash is cash, right? If you check cash, there is no contingency. if you aren't able to close on the closing date, your deposit is immediately at risk. And we had a lot of situations, Jordas will back me up on this, during the period where a buyer put in a financing contingency, had the best offer, but lost it to cash. So there were a lot of people that said, I can't even put anything in financing because I know I won't get it. But if you put it in, if your customer says, can I close on that loan? Or can I close on this home without the loan? If the answer is no, then we actually ask them to sign a waiver with us saying, I'm going in cash. If I don't get the loan, my deposit's at risk. And you've explained all this to me and you're responsible. So I think in this day and age, it's a little bit easier to get a financing offer through. As a matter of fact, we see quite a few more of them than we did. And there isn't the heavy competition for the, that there was for, there's still shortage of supply, but not as what it was. So I think that if your customer wants financing, you submit the offer with the financing contingency checked here on 60. All right.
What would that be called if they wanted to do that?
Well, go in cash.
Yeah, like.
Well, if they're going in cash, they can still get a mortgage. Nothing's stopping them from getting a mortgage. However, if for some reason that mortgage isn't approved and clear to close by that date, would
You're
the
going as a
would
cash
the
offer.
seller extend it? The seller could extend it, but the seller says, no, you told me cash. I don't care about your mortgage. Your deposit's at risk.
What are your thoughts on this, Jeff? Because I've seen that strategy a lot. What would you say then to the, how to suggest the listing agent handle this when, like, would you be transparent with the listing agent? Hey, we're going in cash. They have the cash to close, but we are going to get a mortgage, so we're going to need an appraisal. Just be transparent.
Yeah, you can. It doesn't change the terms of the contract. And if, a lot of listing agents are, why are they calling me for an appraisal? When
Sometimes they'll get pissy about that.
we actually changed the contract a little bit toward the end to allow to say the seller has to be able to accommodate inspections and appraisals. Because a lot of sellers were like, hey, you did your inspection, I'm not allowing you in for the appraisal. But so we actually changed the contract a little bit. So yes, you can go in on 55 with cash, but cash is cash. There's no relief available to your buyer if they can't come up with the loan by the closing date, unless the seller is willing to extend it. So that's not always, if communications are good and so call the seller and say, we need a couple more days to close. Generally, the seller, more so in this market than before, because there's not that many fish in the sea. The seller has a contract, they're happy with it, they may be willing to extend it, but I don't recommend that a buyer go in cash when they need that loan to close. A lot of things can go wrong in a loan. A lot of delays, a lot of things can happen. So, you're better off, I think, using the contingency and going in up front saying, I'm getting the loan. If I can't get the loan, I can get my deposit back. So, all right, so the first part of the contingency here is I'm going to apply for a loan. And remember, broker Jeff hates blanks. If you leave it blank, I don't know whether that means that you're using the default language if there is some, or whether you are not in concert with your buyer as to exactly what this contract says. So please fill in all the blanks. And then there's no doubt as to what's in that contract. So you're going to check initial or fixed rate of interest not exceeding. Okay. So let's look at 64. And is there a default for that percent? What happens if you leave that blank?
Whatever the market.
30 years.
The buyer is not protected if they get a 9% interest rate. And the buyer may not be able to, or may not want to pay that much. Right? It's all based on your credit. It's based on the loan programs that the lender has. It's based on, a lot of times it's based on the risk that the lender's taking. Maybe rates are a little different in a condo complex than they are in a single family home. It's variable. And if you don't put a number in there and the lender comes back with a term that the buyer doesn't like, they may be able to qualify, they may not be getting out on the fact they don't qualify, but they don't want to pay 8.25%, right? But that may be the rate that they get from their lender. So my suggestion is you have always a loan approval from the, not a, that, you know, there's the quick one where they don't check the credit. And it's just a quick thing you get on a Saturday afternoon. And then there's the commitment that says, I've checked the credit, I'm planning to loan you this much at this rate, and this is in writing and signed by the lender. Okay. So a pre-qualification doesn't have any of that. A pre-approval is in writing from the lender saying, I've checked your credit, I've checked you've told me what your expenses are relative, you know, you've given me your debt to income ratios, and based on the information preliminary, but based on quite a bit of information you've given me, I will give you a pre-approval letter saying that you can borrow up to X thousand dollars at X rate. All right. And it's essential that the buyer have that, I think, early on in the process. George, so you put somebody in your car without a pre-approval letter?
So the pre-approval, mine doesn't have the interest rate, just put the amount.
Okay, well, generally they will give you some type of a rate, and there's what are called rate locks, where you can lock a rate in case they fluctuate.
Which one's more definitive, more valuable in that sense?
A signed pre-approval letter by the lender is a reasonable commitment on the part of the lender based on the information that the buyer supplied to them. They haven't looked at their tax returns. They haven't looked at the details that they need to actually issue a loan approval. But a pre-approval says, you've told me what your income is. You told me what your expenses are. We know how much this house is going to cost, and we'll loan you up to X amount of dollars, and we'll put that in a letter.
But the other way is you already have a lender that's already ready to put ink on it.
Then, if I understand you correctly, there's some lenders that offer what's called a pre-underwriting, which says it's much stronger than a pre-approval. It says we haven't put it into underwriting, but we have enough information from you to give you a pre-underwriting approval. It's a little bit of a new wrinkle because sellers wanted stronger commitments other than just a piece of paper saying, hey, I think you're good. You know, so some lenders actually will offer close to a clear to close. And that's even better.
Yeah, I want to correct. It does have an interest rate range. It has 5.5.
Oh, that's fine. So what I'm saying is take that range, go to the top of that range and put that number in there so that if for some reason the buyer goes in, they said, well, your credit wasn't, you know, or this didn't qualify. And so we can't offer you a mortgage. We got to go to 7.5. Well, if you put 7 in there, the buyer can say, I can't get a mortgage for 7. I want my money back. If you put nothing in there and they come back and say it's 8.5, the buyer's stuck. Unless they can get a letter from the lender saying you don't qualify it at that amount. All right. But you want to protect your buyer by filling in all of these terms. There are a lot of different loan products out there. Some of them may not be 30-year loans. Some of them may be what are called adjustable rate mortgages. Those are starting to get a little more popular.
I just want to make some comments here on this idea. It's like sometimes I've seen agents who, okay, you know, I got to lead on a $600,000 home, and like we just jump to the fact that hey, we got a $600,000 lead. Hey, will you be purchasing cash or financing? Okay, financing. Do you have your pre-approval in order? Oh yeah, we went on Rocket Mortgage and it's a qualified equipment. Okay. A lot of folks forget that they get their debts. Credit is not just income. I've seen people wealthy in the sense of income, but tons of debt. So the debt to income is way out of whack to qualify for a loan. Of course, whatever it could be, medical loan, student loan, all whatever it could be. I think most buyers up front, you know, they don't share that. They don't say, and I don't want another financial business.
Right.
All I want to know is talk to a professional, let my professional tell us where we're at. I don't even want to be there. just have them go to a lender before you start putting them in your car or meeting them at properties. Because you're gonna find out the hard way later on, wait a minute, they don't qualify for this home. After you show them 20 properties.
It's amazing, when I was a new agent, how many properties I showed to people without getting that, and then after about 2 or 3 of them fall through, you say, wait a minute, light bulb. So we're trying to save you some time here, really. We can get into buyer broker agreements, we can get into pre-approvals and all that. But you have to go to a certain stage with your customer before it's worth you taking the risk to, because it takes a lot of time to show property, write contracts, negotiate them. And if you're doing all that on the basis that of you hope that the buyer can qualify, that's not a good use of your time.
So, I have a buyer. They agree to up the contract, he wants to get financing, so, and he already has a pre-approval letter, and we turn this into the seller. But some other agent comes in with a buyer that has cash money, cash down. Does this contract hold that seller to my buyer, or does it?
If the seller's accepted it with financing and another offer comes in cash, it's a backup offer. They can't just throw you to the curb.
So once executed.
Right, it has to be signed. It has to be signed. That's why it's always a great idea to go back to what we said from the very beginning. Call the listing agent, find out what's going on. If they've got 3 cash offers and your buyer's thinking of coming in with financing, probably not as strong as the 3 cash offers. If your buyer comes in much higher with financing, now the seller's got to make a decision. But in many cases, when we had lots of multiple offers, the financing offers didn't get much activity, and people got very frustrated as their price and everything was the same, or maybe even a little better than the cash offer. The seller said, I'm taking the cash offer, I want the sure thing, you know. There's not as many loans being applied for now. It's easier to get a loan. It's easier to get the attention of the lender. It's easier to get approvals, I think, than it has been. Why? Because there aren't that many loans being applied for relative to what we saw. We saw people with tons of money apply for loans because they could borrow the money at 2% and they had it in the stock market at 10%. So anyhow, go ahead.
Let's say it's a cash buyer and there's no lender involved. How do we request that proof of?
Okay, great question. So how do we know that the seller's going in cash? And how do we know they have the cash? If I'm the seller, I want to see what's called a proof of funds. Okay, that can be a bank account statement, hopefully with make sure that the buyer crosses out all the account numbers and everything. I've seen them send me stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm not sending that over. It's got their account number and everything on it. You can redact, you know, the account numbers and things. It could be a letter from a financial advisor saying that, you know, Mr. Jordas Reyes is well qualified to purchase this home up to $3 million. And that letter is probably, could be a buddy of his, I don't know. Anyhow, a letter from on a letterhead of a certified financial advisor or a banker, that's generally considered good. Some people will actually send you their retirement account statement or whatever, but it does have to be a reasonable, and it's not unreasonable for the seller to ask that for a cash offer.
That person in real estate, used to when it's in cash flow, after it wasn't gonna be like back full of money. That's
And generally they don't come into closing with a briefcase and open it up and go 100, 200, 300. That's generally not the way it is. So, okay. So, the other thing that's important on 62 is to make sure you check if the buyer is going to go V8 or FHA, then that needs to be checked. And there's an addendum that needs to be included with which the buyer and seller sign that gives the buyer a few more rights under this contract. Then, so if it's going to be FHA or VA, you got to let the seller know that. And if it's going to be conventional, also, but you can't check conventional in FHA. Check the type of loan that the buyer is going to apply for. And if it's VA or FHA, we'll talk a little bit about that addendum. I think we'll get to that today.
How does that affect the seller?
Pardon?
How does the VA and FHA loans. apply.
So if box 2 or 3 is checked, then there's an addendum to the sales contract called VA FHA financing. That's got to be signed by the buyer, the seller, and the selling agent and the listing agent.
Yeah, but how does that affect the seller, like the selling price or the whatever?
Yeah, the seller's gonna, in a VA or an FHA, the seller's gonna have to sign with the lender that they understand what's going on and that there's an implied financial or appraisal contingency built in. Whereas normally you get an appraisal, it doesn't appraise, the lender will only loan you 80% or whatever of the appraised value. In this particular case, if in VA or FHA, if it doesn't appraise for the amount you put in there, it's automatic that the buyer can walk or the seller can lower the price. So it's a little different treatment. There's other things that go on in an FHA loan. Typically in an FHA loan, it's low down payment. The seller can, or anybody can contribute up to 6% of the loan value. So the seller could give a concession, a gift could come in from the family, but it's limited to 6% of the loan value. So,
And also for like the VA loans, as well as the FHA, they have a very long list of inspections that he accomplished and passed. So that's so that they can make sure that these people who don't have a lot of skin in the game, they're not gonna buy a crap house, you know, the plumbing, the electrical, the AC, all those things have to pass.
yeah, and the VA inspection is not a normal home inspection. It's pretty thorough. I know we refinanced our house to VA. My wife had a VA benefit from her reserves. And they actually came in and inspected it and required that we make a couple repairs.
I've had 2 VA ones as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
So the VA loan, it's much different. I think the inspection's different. The VA actually sends out a qualified inspector to make sure that the home is in good shape. And the seller is responsible for making those repairs.
And another factor too is like a VA loan, that's the 0 down. So if the veteran's gonna be buying a house, their commitment money might only be $1,000 for escrow. And if the buyer doesn't, the seller doesn't want to have that, they want to see something like, you know.
It's okay
3%,
in that case, for the seller to say, I want $5,000, I'll give it back to you at closing. But you can actually, in a VA loan, you can borrow the loan amount plus the closing costs. It's pretty, if you're a qualified veteran, it's a pretty good program. If you're a seller, there's a little more risk involved with that type of loan than there is with a conventional loan. Right? There's a little more risk that it won't get approved. And the seller is also responsible for any repairs that are requested by the VA. FHA is, again, generally a low down payment. It's 97, usually 97%. It can be 10% down, but it's generally a lower down payment. And from a seller standpoint, if I'm making a lower down payment, or if you're asking me for the seller for a concession at closing, that's a little bit different than if I'm doing a conventional 80% mortgage and here's my 20% down. So it's less secure for the seller, and the seller also has to sign off on the fact that I understand this is a VA or FHA loan, and I understand my obligations are different than they are on a traditional conventional loan. So if you're checking those boxes, you got to include that addendum, and the seller, if you're on the listing agent side, the seller needs to know that you have a pre-approval, but there's more risk in those loans, more risk that they won't get approved. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how one of these financing contingencies will flow. If I can get this to work. Will it work? I don't know. Thought I got this to work the other day. Let's see if I can. Slideshow. Hey, there we go. All right, so let's see if we can get this to work. So the neighborhood financing contingency is very simple. What I'm gonna do here is go through a little PowerPoint to show you all of the steps in the financing contingency for the basically all of the language going down below is going to be summarized in this flow chart. And when it's done, you're welcome to take a picture of it, or I can send it to you, but it's a step-by-step talk about how the neighbor financing contingency works, right? So the loans is applied, and again, it says that they'll make the loan application not later than 5 days after, okay, 6 days. Anyhow, so you, again, don't leave that blank, put in 5 days. I have had a couple cases that went to court because they put 5 days in there and they fiddled around to wait till the inspection was done, and then they applied to and they didn't have time to get approval. They went to another bank, and finally they said, we're out, we want our money back, but they couldn't get a bank to write them a letter saying you didn't qualify, right? So they fiddled around and the seller went after their deposit and won. So be careful with that. So the default in the line 68, which is a financing contingency, is 45 days. So remember, you got to go back to the lender and say to the lender, how long is it going to take you to do this loan if you're the buyer, okay? And you want to make sure, if you're the seller, that you're going to get a response back from the buyer within a certain period of time, so you're not sitting off the market waiting to hear that the buyer can't qualify, right? So that number in the FAR contract defaults to 30 days. Most of the loans that we're seeing close in today's market, because there aren't that many loans, 30 days may be a better. So that's the mortgage contingency date. Okay, so understand the mortgage contingency date in the neighbor contract basically says, by that date, I either need to waive my financing contingency, in which case I move forward to closing with my deposit at risk, or if I don't waive the contingency, either party can cancel. Right? In the days when there was a lot less inventory and a lot more frenetic, a lot of sellers said to the buyer, if you don't waive your contingency, I'm going back on the market because I can get more money for my house than I got from your contract. Today, not quite so much. So make sure the seller has a date in there that they can go to the buyer and say, are you waiving your contingency? If the buyer says, no, I'm not waiving it because there's no reason for me to waive it, then the seller has to make a decision. Seller has to say, do I cancel and go back on the market, or do I work with this buyer? And there are some thoughts in my mind that there should be more teeth in it for the seller, but right now there's not. Okay. The seller could say, if you don't waive your if you don't waive your contingency, I'm going to cancel unless part of your deposit is firm. But right now the contingency date is not a drop dead date for the buyer. And many financial advisors are saying there's no reason for you to waive your contingency as a buyer, because you can still get your money back if for some reason the loan doesn't close. So I think, to me, if I'm on the seller's side, I want that date to be reasonable, and I want communication to be good with the lender and the buyer and me, so that I know that the seller's not just sitting there waiting off the market for something to happen. All right. So, and that contingency date needs to make sense to the closing date. I've seen contracts go through where the contingency date is after the closing date. What does that mean? That means they could cancel on the day of closing, get their money back, and see you later. Is that fair to the seller? No. So if they put a date out there, or they leave it blank, which, broker Jeff hates blank. So they leave it blank, it's 45 days, count that on your calendar and make sure that that gives the seller enough time to find out whether they should hire a moving van or do whatever they want to do, whatever they're planning on doing. Because if it's 5 days before the closing date, that's not particularly fair to the seller, because the seller's like, well, what do? I don't know, Hopefully the communication is good. The buyer's agent said, hey, we got to clear to close, we're in good shape. Even if we don't waive, but if the seller is concerned, they can always cancel, right? So give a reasonable period of time there for the seller to be able to react, to be able to, if they're gonna put stuff in storage, they're gonna move, whatever they're gonna do, make sure that that date makes sense, right? So if the buyer waives their contingency on or before the contingency date, they've said, I've got to clear to close, my deposit's firm. If I don't close for any reason, it's the seller's deposit, right? If I'm declined, I get a letter from the lender. Remember, it can't just be an email from the lender saying, too bad, so sad. It has to be in the language here, it has to be an equal credit opportunity equal credit opportunity act statement of adverse credit. It's a federal form and it's filled out by the lender and it says, you know, Jeff Jones did not meet our qualification standards. He's out. That way I could get that to the seller and the closing agent and get my deposit back. There is a little bit of a clause in here that says if I've done everything I can, but I can't get the lender to give me any kind of a reaction, I can still get out, but I have to have some proof of that. The FAR contract requires no proof whatsoever. It's an email. Buyer didn't qualify, we're out. This is more stringent in terms of most lenders won't write a letter for you because you decided you don't want the house. They're going to write a letter of equal credit opportunity statement of adverse credit. That's an ethical thing, right? It has to say, hey, this person didn't qualify for the loan. The buyer doesn't waive the contingency, either buyer or seller may cancel, but remember the buyer has to have that letter at any time if they want to cancel, all right? So if the seller decides, I'm done with this, I'm going back on the market, the buyer still gets their money back, but the seller's out. So that's the seller's leverage, is if I don't believe that this is a quality transaction, if I don't believe the buyer's going to be able to get the loan, I haven't heard anything from the buyer's side, I'm going back on the market. I don't want to continue with this. Buyer still gets their money back. Okay. If they don't cancel, the contract proceeds, but the buyer's deposit remains refundable, which is the part that I think is a little bit unfair to the seller. If the buyer waives their contingency, the contract proceeds, but the buyer's deposit is not refundable. It's firm. If the buyer can't close, the seller gets the money. All right. The buyer gets declined. They get their money back with that letter. Buyer doesn't get declined. We have closing, and that's where we get paid, right?
Yeah, baby. I'm gonna take a photo.
That button.
Can we,
You like that?
can we get these emailed, these slides emailed?
Sure.
Or at least the link. Yeah, baby.
That's your first closing. What do you say?
Yeah, baby.
All right, so that's the NABOR financing contingency. Let's flip over to FAR and I'll go through the FAR with you. Here. So the FAR is entirely different than the NABOR. And it works differently, and you know, there are those that think that it's overly confusing, but if you've got, do you have anybody have the FAR language, or you want me to pull it up?
Probably best.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Yeah, okay.
Here. For those of you that are, we're gonna talk about DocuSign. We're gonna show you how to use it. That's our product of choice. But with your MLS subscription comes Form Simplicity. And there are those, including me, that like Form Simplicity better because it automatically pulls all the data in from MLS. And it's a little easier to use. If you want to use it, and you have to pay a little extra if you want the e-signature capability, you could use it. Dump it into DocuSign for signatures, but DocuSign's okay, but it's a little cumbersome. It's a little bit more difficult to use. We're going to show you how to use it, but if you want to look at Form Simplicity, you can do Form Simplicity as part of your MLS membership. And a lot of people use it. And if I'm helping you write a contract, I probably won't put it in my command. I'll put it, expand for me, would you? My forms. There we go. I'll probably put it in Form Simplicity because I don't want your contract in my command, but let's talk a little bit about the FAR financing contingency here. As soon as I can get to. I have no idea how they organize this. It's supposed to be alphabetical. There we are. Florida Realtors, Florida Bar.
Can you click it at the top of the?
I can.
The header row?
I've got it right here. It's easier for me to flounder around the directory there. Probably could use a search feature and be fine.
Are there cliff notes to the contract? No, that might.
I'm sorry?
Like, because someone wants you to kind of like help them understand the contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think personally, early on in your relationship with the buyer or early on in your conversation with the listing, for a listing, you want to introduce these forms. You don't want to wait until they're ready to make an offer or ready to sign the listing contract, because most of the time that becomes an emotional time. Where do I sign? And once they've signed that, if they don't understand what they're signing for, it's not real pretty to me. So I've always given out copies of the listing contract, my first meeting with the seller, and say, I just want you to have this. We're going to go over it when you sign it. But if you'd like to look at it and ask me any questions, that'd be great. Okay, so paragraph 8 of the FAR contract has to do with financing, okay? And their simple explanation of if it's cash, it's cash. Now it goes on again into the same type of check boxes that we talked about in the NABOR contract, and that is conventional FHA or other. Obviously, if you're FHA or VA, there is what the NABOR contract calls them addendum. The FAR contract calls them riders. All right. So there's a rider that goes along with this called FHA VA, and it has the same kind of language and is signed by all parties that goes along with this if you check box FHA or VA. Again, fixed adjustable. You notice in the initial rate not to exceed, they say if left blank, then prevailing rate based on buyer's creditworthiness. I think that's just as shaky as leaving it blank in the NABOR contract. What does that mean? You have a pre-approval letter, your buyer's in contact with their lender, they have an idea what the rate's going to be. I think I put a number in there that's slightly higher than that to protect the buyer, to make sure that if all goes wrong in the process, they are not stuck with a mortgage that they're not, we're not intending to get in the first place. Okay.
How often do you see a number there?
I see MKT, I see it left blank 50–60% of the time, and I don't understand why. I mean, it's just, again, remember when I said, are there no new agents in here? There are no new agents in there because many of your fellow colleagues can't read this paragraph and explain it to you. They just fill out the contract, leave it blank if they don't know, and they move on. And are they doing the best possible job for their buyer?
Yeah, mine didn't have anything.
Remember that the only way we can make a living in this business is through positive, pleasurable experiences with customers, so that they know, like, and trust us, and they'll do business with us again. And the minute you start introducing doubt, and the minute the buyer runs into difficulty because the contract wasn't completed in their favor, the likelihood that they're gonna do business with you again is slim and none, and slim left town. So you gotta be careful that you understand this, that you explain it to your customer, that they feel confident that you know what's going on in this contract, and they can trust you to represent them. So one of the things to me is to leave that paragraph, leave that interest rate blank. That could cause, a great deal of angst for the buyer. Again, on 97, buyer shall make application for financing within 5 days. Right? So we have a similar diagram here with any kind of luck to the one we just did for Nabor. Let's see if I can. It's not PowerPoint. If I download it, it won't. Maybe I hold on a second. See if I can't get a different one up. Search results. Oh, that's the PDF. That's why. I need the 2021 contract. Need a PowerPoint version. Hold on a second here. See if I can. PDF.
Can you do a search by the file extension, like asterisk dot?
Yeah.
PPT.
How about if I spell financing right? That'd probably help me some.
So that first one, not it, PPT.
No. Maybe it does.
Before you added Farbar, there was a list that popped up.
There we go. Got it. Sorry. There we go. Now we can do this, I think. Again, the very simple, even more complicated than the board. All right. So, all right, so let's go through this. This is the contract was revised in 2021, and the financing contingency was changed quite a bit. So let's go through this a step at a time and talk a little bit about all the different parts of it. Ready? So in the Farbar contract on line 89, it says it's a defined term. A defined term is a legal situation where they actually take and say loan approval period is a defined term. So every reference to loan approval is loan approval period, and it defaults to 30 days. Right. In the Nabor contract, we notice that the financing contingency, much different, defaults to 45 days. Okay. So now that is a critical calendar date in the Farbar contract, the loan approval date. Okay, if it's not changed from 30 days, you have a chance to change it, make it longer or shorter. At that date, that should be in your calendar. Maybe a couple of days earlier should be in your calendar, because that's a drop dead date, and the buyer has to make a decision and notify the other side on that date. Okay, so you must provide written notice to the seller. That's an email. It doesn't require a letter from the lender or anything. It's communication between you and the buyer's agent and the listing agent. Okay, if it's declined, or if there are terms in there that the lender says, I'll loan you the money, but you have to replace the roof in 12 months. Okay, whatever those conditions are on the loan approval are not acceptable to the buyer. So the buyer says, I'm done, in writing. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be the buyer cannot qualify for this loan and then we'll terminate. All right. That's a little different than in NABOR where it required that equal opportunity statement of adverse credit from the lender. All right. If the buyer doesn't provide any notice to the seller on that date, which I don't recommend, but that is a date that, whoops. Then the seller has 3 days to cancel. So if I miss that date and the listing agent, I don't hear from the buyer's agent on that date, then I go to the seller and say, okay, we haven't heard anything from the other side. You have a 3-day window to cancel. Seller at that point faces the same choice that they did in the NABOR contract, in that they can decide whether, oh, I'll just go back to the market. The other choice is if the seller decides to cancel, contract ends, same as in the financing contingency with NABOR, seller decides I want to cancel, buyer gets their money back. Okay. However, if the seller decides that they don't want to cancel, all right, or if the buyer says, I'm good, I've got loan approval, I'm moving forward, the contract proceeds, the buyer's deposit is not refundable. So it's a little cleaner than NABOR in that on that date, we have to have a meeting of the minds and we have to let the other side know where we stand. And if we don't, we do have a window where the seller can cancel. Don't see that very often in this contract, but basically either I'm out or I'm in. And if I'm in, my deposit is no longer refundable. Except. So the old financing contingency had what's called a property related condition. And that included the appraisal. So now I could go along merrily and all of a sudden say, oh, didn't appraise, I want my money back. No, the appraisal has to be done in the first 30 days. So it's a lot more concise in that everything has to be done and a decision on loan approval has to be done in 30 days. And then the buyer has to respond. I'm out, I'm in. And if I'm in, my deposit's not refundable. What's a property related condition? Property related condition is the lender requires a 4-point inspection and finds out the roof is really old. That creates an insurance problem for the buyer, but the lender may say, I don't like this. You're going to have to replace the roof in the first year, or I'm not going to be able to approve your loan. That's a property related condition. Another property related condition is, so if there's a property related condition that renders the loan not practicable for the buyer, then the buyer can say, I've got a property related condition. Well, I'm going the wrong way here. I've got a property related condition and I'm out. Again, that used to be appraisal. Now it's a situation that has something to do with a defect of the house that the lender gets from a 4-point or whatever. It says, I'm not going to approve this loan unless you do the following. The other side of this is what we call rider V. Again, addendums are riders in the FAR contract. I have a sale of buyer's home rider that says my home has to be sold before I can close. And if at that point in time, I haven't sold my house, getting ready to close, I can get out by saying I can't sell my house, and the buyer again receives their money back. All right. So if there's no property related condition, remember my deposit was not refundable. There's no property related condition, I go to closing. Did I get it to work? Oh, come on. I guess I can't with that. Move this up again. Now I can do it. Okay. We got through that. Anyhow, so you got your chart there. Again, I can send it to you. When you take a look at that, you said, well, that didn't sound so bad when you were talking about it. But that's what the, if I take all the lines from line, actually from line 89 to line 131, that's it on the board on the chart. So hopefully that helps you. It really is a conditional flow chart, and it really does show you all the different variations on the financing contingency. And next to inspections, this is the most complicated part of the contract. And I'll tell you that many of your colleagues have no clue on this.
Who determines the closing date?
What?
Who determines the
The
closing?
closing date is put into your contract, so the buyer suggests that they were ready to close by such and such a date. Again, that's a conversation with the lender, right? How long is it gonna take me to get it clear to close? And then that's a conversation also that you have with the listing agent when you're representing the buyer, and you call them and say, hey, you know, we could probably close in 30 to 45 days. Oh, well, the seller would like 60 days. Okay. Then I'm gonna put that in my terms. Is my offer gonna look better than if nobody called and put in a 30-day close, same amount, same terms? Yeah. That's
What
why-
is the normal period of time that a seller wants to?
I think generally 30 to 60 days in that range. But a lot of times in this market, the seller wants a little extra time because they want to find another place to live, or they want to move their stuff. And it's just a convenience. And a lot of times when we go to contract in the summer, the buyer's not coming down until the fall anyhow. So they can accommodate the seller and give them that opportunity. Maybe that makes your offer a little bit more palatable to the seller. So that's why I always have that conversation with the listing agent before you send the offer over. Okay, what do you think?
Yeah, but-
For cash offers, it doesn't really matter.
Pardon?
For cash offers, the closing date can be
Closing,
less than 30.
I think you have to check with the title, either the closing attorney or the title company, because it takes time to do the municipal lien search. It takes time to do the title work, prepare all the documents. And I've heard a week to 10 days can be done. Now, again, the pace of the market has slowed a great deal from what it was a couple of years ago. So they may be able to do it faster because they're not busy. Right, but you still have, there's still some non-compressible things like the title search and the municipal lien search, and some things that need to be done before the closing docs can get prepared.
The HOA has to approve.
If there's any type of, if there's any type of HOA approval or condo approval, then that's usually a minimum of 30 days. And in the summer, it's tougher to get HOA and condo approval because people are gone. Right, and they have to be part of the review, they have to sign off, so that's a question that really, remember I said it's always a good idea to call the property manager. See what's going on, see if there's any assessments, see if there's anything special that the buyer needs to do. Some still require a personal interview, right? You have to schedule a personal interview. Sometimes they can do it by phone or Zoom, but there are still some complexes in Naples that want you in the chair facing the board, and that can't always be done right away. And you can't ignore that process.
But they want to, HOA wants to interview as a buyer.
Oh, yeah.
The HOA is in control.
Yeah, very, mine is like that. He did.
So interestingly enough, you know, not to get off on a sidetrack here, but a lot of times I noted when I was an agent, people would come down and say, I don't want any of those HOAs or condo associations. I don't want you to tell me what to do. Well, okay, you want to live in the estates? I mean, you want to live in Naples Park? You know, there's not very many areas in Naples in this whole market, including Estero and often up into Fort Myers, but where there's just no rules. Marco Island doesn't have any type of HOAs. But a home there is $1.5 million. Anyhow, the HOA condo argument is kind of superficial. You know, I don't want to pay those fees. Okay, so I used to sit down, here's a piece of paper. Let's sit down and talk about this. Okay. So now you don't want an HOA. Okay, great. So who's going to cut the grass? Well, I don't like cutting the grass. But who's going to take care of mulching? Who's going to take care of the plants and everything? Well, I don't like doing that. Well, why wouldn't you let the HOA do that? Well, they're making money on all that. I'm like, No, this is a group of your peers that's hiring a lawn service to do the lawn so that every place looks the same. One doesn't have grass growing up here and dead plants over here and you know. So the purpose of an HOA is common governance. It's not to mark it up and charge people more, but if you ask them to, okay, how often do you have to paint the house? Here you have to paint the house every 3 or 4 years, right? How about the roof? How often do you have to replace the roof? How about all of these things that the HOA is doing for you? And some HOAs do get into roofs and painting of the building, some don't. It's subject to the rules of the HOA. Condo associations, remember, in an HOA, you own the land and the building. In a condo, you don't own anything. You own an undivided interest. If there's 100 units in the condo complex, you own 1/100th of the interest in that property. So you do not own your land and building in a condo, right? In a co-op, it's a corporation and you own a share of stock in the corporation, and that share of stock entitles you to live and reside in a particular unit in the complex. So ownership's important to understand, and the expenses related to a HOA and a condo and a co-op are all related to what that organization is going to cover for you. Now, why should you live in an HOA? You can drive down Gulf Shore Boulevard and drive down to some of these complexes that were built. Naples, not much happened in Naples till the 50s, but 50s and 60s. You'll drive in, pull into one of these places. It'll be beautifully landscaped. The building will be painted. The parking lot is perfect. It's white stripes on it. You think that each individual would have done that for 40 years, 50 years? No. The reason that resale values and prices are higher in this market, Naples, than they are as you move up into other markets that don't have as much presence of HOAs is resale value.
Yeah. Yeah, hurricanes too. like-
The appreciation in Naples is greater than it is as you head north. Not to say there aren't nice complexes everywhere, but those HOAs properly run. Obviously, we've had periods of time where somebody ran off the money from an HOA. We've had some disasters, but overall, the purpose of that HOA is to preserve the value of everybody's home. That's why we do the landscaping. That's why we paint the buildings every so many years. But the idea is if you didn't do that, drive to Naples Park, drive down any one of those streets and tell me that there's every home on that street looks the same and it's in the same condition. One of them will have 15 cars in there, 2 or 3 wrecks piled on top of each other. It was last painted 15 years ago. The roof doesn't look too good. And right next door will be an $800,000 home that was built 3 years ago. So that's an HOA for you. And so I think that if you're working with, a lot of people come from other parts of the country where there aren't HOAs and they rail against, I'm not paying those, that's just a ripoff. Then you sit down and write down how much you're going to pay a landscaper, how much to clean the pool, how much to paint the building, how much to, and you start adding it all up. It's not a lot different. It's just you're paying somebody to do it and you're not having to worry about it. That's it. So we got about 15 minutes here to talk a little bit about the addendums and everything. So let's go out of here, out of here, out of here. We'll go back to the Naples. Let's see, we probably need this. And far bar. All right, let's go to Naples here. And we'll go to the contract library. And I'm not going to go through all of these. We can do a whole 2-hour session on just amendments. By the way, the Naples Area Board teaches the Naples listing contract, sales contract, and then there's a third class that just goes through addendums because it's very hard. I teach all of them. And it's very hard to get through the whole sales contract. Remember, these are all 4-hour CE. So now remember, you all are on your first run. So that's why we have Ignite, because you have to do 45 hours of post-education. But after that, it's 14 hours, right? 2 hours are ethics and 2 hours are core law. But the rest of it is, you can go to 2 contract classes, there's your CE. So we teach these for CE. They're usually taught by a realtor and then also by an attorney. So we bounce off each other, and they're good classes. We broke it up, used to be all day, now it's 4 hours in the morning, generally always in the morning. You get your CE, gone through an entire contract, and generally gotten some great information and perspective from people like me and attorneys that work, we kind of bounce off each other. So all these, you can, if you want to dig deeper, I think I'm teaching a listing class 2 weeks from today, somewhere around there. Anyhow, they're done by Zoom. Some of them are done in person, but I encourage you, don't stop here, dig deeper when you have a chance, because I think it's always, no matter how, I got my license in 2007, I still take classes every year. I still believe in education. Now we got Chat GPT, we got all kinds of new stuff coming along, and that's the way you can stay relevant as a great realtor. So these are addendums here, and there are a bunch of them, and they apply to certain conditions. Let's see if I can just have the sales contract up. What do we have here? We have, so at the bottom of every one of these sales contracts, regular as is, all right, is a box showing you all the addendum that are available that you can include with your contract. See the box there? So that's, we obviously don't have time to go through all of those today, but remember that many of them are going to be useful if there's any type of HOA, if there's any type of condo, any of these situations that are applicable to your particular situation, we would check that box and include the addendum. Okay, so let me go back here and let's look at a few of these, one of which we talked about this morning. If I can find it. There we go. Remember this one? Okay, so if there's, let's say you check the box FHA or VA, all right, then you would attach this addendum, all right? And again, you're filling out the top information just as though it is in the sales contract. And in many cases, the software will fill that in for you once you bring this addendum up. So if it's FHA financing, we're going to check the box. And what we're doing there is protecting the buyer, that if the property doesn't appraise for the value you put in there, could be, generally it will be the sales contract price, but maybe it has to do with your lender saying it's got to appraise for XYZ. That is basically saying that if it doesn't appraise, the buyer can walk away or negotiate with the seller to a price that's closer to the appraised value, and in order to proceed. Or the buyer can say, I don't care, I'll pay the extra money. But remember, if it doesn't appraise, the buyer is going to have be able to pay the difference in cash. They can't borrow unless the lender says, I'll lend you the extra money. If you're, in a conventional loan, if you're only borrowing 60 or 70% and the appraisal comes in a little low, the lender will say, so what? Doesn't matter to me, my loan to value is still in good shape.
Can you put in a statement that says not to exceed the appraised value?
That's essentially what that's saying.
Okay.
Is the lender is lending you the money based on the appraised value of the property, right? So if the appraisal comes in less than the contract price, now we have a dilemma, right? The seller could lower their price, or if the seller says, I'm not lowering my price, then the buyer has to come up with a difference in cash. And we had a lot of language put into these contracts back early on when the market was going like this and the appraisals weren't keeping up, that the buyer paid the difference in cash.
But
That made their offer stronger than somebody's offer that said, I can't borrow any more money than this.
so the buyer's not obligated to follow through.
Correct.
Okay. They can
Correct.
say, I can't afford that.
Correct. Absolutely. But a lot of them were saying, I want the house. It's a pandemic. I want this place. I'll pay. And there was that we had language that we could give you that says, the buyers, if the appraised value doesn't meet the the loan value, the buyer is willing to pay, make the difference up in cash up to X dollars. So that happened a lot when there was a lot of competition for less. Let's see what we can do here. All right, so VA financing basically does inform the seller that the buyer that they're going to be an inspection, and that in the FAR bar writer there's a dollar limit in there, but basically in a VA loan, the seller always pays for the termite inspection. Don't ask me why, but that's traditional. So this is basically saying that the buyer is going to have a VA inspector come out, and Joe Cotto raised his hand.
Yeah, I got a
Speak to me,
question.
Joe, speak to me.
I have, yep, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I have the listing agent told me that the condo had gone pending, but that eventually the VA declined to approve it because of the number of rentals in the property.
Right.
Can you address that?
FHA same way. There are FHA approved condominiums. There are those that the FHA will not approve, and some of them have to do with it generally has to do with the amount of reserve funds that are in there. So when you're writing a contract on a condo or an HOA, sometimes you have to be concerned that that particular community is not on the approved list for FHA. What does that mean? That means that the lender cannot sell the loan to Fannie or Freddie, because Fannie or Freddie says, I don't want any part of that community. They don't have enough reserves. If there's a catastrophe, they aren't going to be able to pay all the reserves off. So that's
a link that you can click on. to
so
check.
it's a good idea. The lender will more than likely ask you when you call and say, I'm working for Joe Cotto and I'm submitting an offer, and he wants to live in XYZ community. And the lender will say, great, glad to work with you, Jeff. Send me the most recent financial statements from that condo or HOA, and in that the budgets and for next year and reserves for this year, he's going to check that financial statement to see if it meets the lender's criteria. That's important to know. So that's why these addendums, notice that they need to be signed by the listing licensee and the selling licensee. These are federal forms, federal requirements. Every one of these addendums is a little bit different. Yes, sir.
Of those condos that are basically FHA and VA is not gonna touch them because they say they don't have enough capital
It's usually reserves. It could be
reserves.
too many investors own too many of the properties in there. They don't believe that, they believe the investors control a lot of the values by their actions. Some of it is they don't have enough reserves. And we're now going next year to these milestone structural inspections, right? So they're going to be very keen on that, because in Miami, they voted down, I don't know how many assessments, and they had no reserves, and that building just crumbled because of lack of maintenance.
So
That's what the FHA then came out and said, you have to have X amount of reserves relative to your total expenses, or we're not going to we're not going to buy your loan.
So aren't those conventional lenders living in that community really at risk?
That's not my rules. That's the
I
FHA.
mean, that's the end result of it, right? If we
Generally,
HHA,
There's a few communities in Naples that came out of the ground right during the downturn, and investors went in and bought 50 units.
So conventional loan, you have PMI insurance.
Right,
it's
right.
in the default, and VA doesn't have.
Right.
PMI.
right?
But it's Fannie or Freddie that buys most of these loans from lenders, so they can sell that loan and turn around and loan the money to somebody else, right? There are lenders in town that will do what they call portfolio loans for certain communities, because they believe the communities to be good. They're not selling those loans off to Fannie or Freddie, they're keeping them in-house. So there are options. If it's a co-op, there's only a few banks that will deal with co-ops because they're corporations and shares of stock. So a lot of it depends on the community. A lot of it depends on your checking out the community even before you write the contract. And how do you know? You can, when you're working with a buyer, it's unlikely that you're gonna get in the car, spend a half an hour, they're gonna go, oh, I'll take that. They're gonna look and they're gonna go, okay, I think I'd like to go back to Sterling Oaks. I like that. I like the tennis. Let's go back there. Okay, ding, 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 ding. Let me check out Sterling Oaks, or let me check out this subdivision of Sterling Oaks that they're interested in. Let me find out what the insurance is, what the flood insurance is. Let me find out if there's any assessments. And let me find out if this is on the approved list, because they're borrowing the money. Can I do all that before I write the contract? Sure. The buyer is going to tell you over a period of time what they want. And what we say, buyers are liars. When you first start working with them, they have no idea what they want. So as you narrow that gap and come down and build your relationship with them and start helping them to find a match, that's when you do the preliminary information. And oftentimes, if you're a good listing agent, you put all that information up there. You put the finances up there. You put the condo docs up there. You put everything you can up, so that if I'm working with a buyer, I can pull that information down, send it to a lender. I can get the information ahead of time before I write the offer. Who is 12398?
That's me, Jeff, Larry.
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, how do you see the milestone inspections playing out in our local market here? I know it's going to have more impact than, say, Miami because of the older buildings and whatnot,
Yeah.
but how do you see it playing out here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a pendulum reaction to we're gonna go too far and then we're gonna come back somewhere in the middle. But we have, most of this has to do with condos that are more than, is it 25 years old? There we have a lot of old buildings here. We don't have very many new condo buildings. What the heck do we call that? Maybe we use the search here. Anyhow, the disclosure basically talks about why we're having it, and they're not going to be required to be done until the end of next year. But if your buyer is buying into a condominium complex over 3 stories high, you should probably give them this information and say, hey, just so you know, chances are it's going to cost you a little bit more to own in this condo complex once we start doing these inspections. Where is it? Inspection notice, buyer's election. Well, I know it's in there, but can't find it. Anyhow, the milestone inspections will affect all buildings in town. Majority of them, we have very few condos that are not more than 20 years old. They're going to affect every one of these buildings. They're going to have a cleaned structural inspection. They're going to have accounts set up for each of the 7 major structural components. Is that going to be free? Unlikely. Okay. So there it is. But we guys did as not a bad thing, but as a safety thing, right? You want to know that there are not severe cracks in the foundation of your building. So it's 30 years old or 25 years or older within 3 miles of the Gulf. So how many of our condos are within 3 miles? Most of them. How many of them are 25 or 30 years old? Most of them. Right. I think there's one in Pelican Bay that just got built in the last 5 years, but most of the time, a building that you're going to show a building over 3 stories high is going to be subject to these inspections. So not a bad idea to give this to your buyer so that they don't get a notice next year after they have moved in that there's going to be these inspections and that there's going to be some additional costs. We did it, we labored over this, but we did it as a safety disclosure because a lot of people after Miami called and said, hey, I'm looking at this, how do I know it's safe? Well, I think the building codes here are much better than that building in Miami. think they ignored maintenance for years and years. It's now under this new law, it's a felony to put off required maintenance. The board that says we're going to defer this maintenance, we know it needs to be done, we don't have the money, that's a felony to do. Which is essentially what the people in Miami did, because they just kept kicking the can down the road. And they even went and put queen palms all around the pool. How much do those weigh? The pool deck's suspended. They put, I don't know, 30 or 40 of these big, huge queen palms in. And even the pool contractor said there's cracks. You can see the cracks, you can see the water dripping, you know, there was all the information was there. So the legislature said, hey, wait a minute. Not on our watch. We're gonna get, and we don't even know who's gonna do the structural inspections or how much they cost. There's gonna be a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 says, oh, I see some cracks. I don't know whether those are structural or surface. Phase 2. Are they? So is it gonna be good for the overall safety of these buildings that aren't getting any younger? Yeah. Is it gonna cost money? Yeah. Do you want to share that with your customer?
Certainly.
Probably should.
Okay. All right, it's 12 o'clock. So how many of you are thinking of coming on Monday to the contract workshop? Yeah, here's your homework. How many of you know Doreen Doyle? This is Doreen's listing. So you're going to prepare a sales contract for her. And I'm going to have her come in and read them and talk to you about it. She's a cool lady. Anyhow, this is just for your, take a NABOR regular sales contract and go to MLS number 223-054-220. 25241 Bay Cedar Drive.
23054.
Pardon?
What was that for 054?
The MLS number.
It's pretty small. 220.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pass it around if you want.
Okay.
Let's try writing a sales contract. I'll let you write either as is or regular. And if you write them as is, I'm gonna ask you why. I'm not saying you can't, just write the contract that you think would work best. And let's talk about them on Monday. If you want, bring your laptops. We'll get deeper into how these things work and everything. And
What time do you want to say? 10:30?
Yeah.
why don't you come at 9 and we'll just, if it takes an hour, fine, if it takes 2 hours, fine. I'm here to help you to learn the contract. And you won't learn them until you write them.
What was the address?
Is it gonna be via Zoom?
Here, I'm passing around the MLS.
Take a picture.
As a matter of fact, give me the number and I'll just pull it up on the screen here. How's that? Hold on, not too fast.
Is it gonna be via Zoom? I'm gonna be out of town.
Pardon?
Is it gonna be via Zoom also? I'm gonna be out of town and I'd like to listen in.
Oh, we could zoom it, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Let me get into MLS here. Give me the MLS number and I'll pull it up here. Sorry.
Oh, it is. You're not fine enough.
What's the MLS number?
223-054.
There.
223-054-220.
Yes.
Okay, I missed a 0 at the end. 0. There we go.
When you go pass it over here.
Oh, this is a picture.
Hey, you know what?
Okay, so
I can be-
this is a HOA.
Oh, sorry.
It's in Pelican Landing, so there's some community information there. There's even an open house on Sunday if you want to go to the open house.
I'm doing
You're doing it?
it. I know what I'm doing.
Really? So anyhow, pull this up and print it out and see what you can do with it. Okay?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of HOA stuff with that, I'm assuming,
Yep.
right? So,
Yep, I wanted to pick one that was, and I'll get Doreen to come in and you guys can
so we're just making an offer.
talk to her. She's funny.
We're making an offer.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're making an offer. So, and if you make an offer for $875, she'll throw in your contract. No. Just kidding.
30 days.
All right, so take either write a NABOR regular Actually, this is far bar, isn't it? This is in Estero, so you can write any contract you want. You pick. And we'll take it from there.
Go away from me, see, go away.
Doreen doesn't care what contract you write. She will look at all of them. All right? Did we do good? Thank you. Have a great day.
You're still one above us all. Yeah. Every class.